it stops, no one knows. We're going headed into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hump day. Technically 3 out of 6 days for this week. We're halfway there. We're halfway there for the Delphi trial week 2. Welcome back to Criminality. If this is your first time here, welcome to Criminality. Today we were going to be discussing the Delphi trial that is currently just ended. Oh God, it's only Wednesday. I know. So I was like, wait a minute, what day is it? That is now ended for the 5th day of testimony. And we do have Julie. She's backstage. She's having a snack real quick and drinking a little bit of Diet Coke. So she just got out of court for day 5, and she's going to come up and share with us what she heard in the courtroom today. But before we do that, I'm going to say hi to you guys. I also want to show you that I have been taking all the notes that have been sent to me and trying to consolidate them into one spot, one graphic that looks very similar to all the ones that I have done in the past for trials. So just so you guys can see, this is the best compilation of notes that I was able to do. So it has, it'll have opening statements. It has testimony from everybody. It has their photos. It has who's doing the cross, who's doing the who's doing the direct, and it also this will be a public link so that you guys can all have access to it. Make it easier so that every day will be in one spot. So like we have Becky Patty, that'll be hers. I kind of skipped ahead because I had some notes that I had done. So let me see. Yeah, so like here's Mullen. So it has like who they are. So you'll be the last I have for you from you, Sleuthy, is up. I have Giancola, I have Paige, and I have, I'll just tell you who I have. Datsman. I think Datsman's the last one I have from you. So this is just a compilation, and like I said, this will be a public link. I'm going to give it to you guys. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on my Facebook page. It'll be in the Facebook chat. So hopefully, and I probably should put a disclaimer on here that states, obviously, I am not in the courtroom. I'm doing the best I can to try to compile the information. So I cannot guarantee the accuracy of everything. I can just do the best I can and giving you guys that information. So it's got the jury questions on here with the cross. So this is kind of where I'm at currently. So I'm putting that together. That'll be for you guys. And we can, that way when we have, I feel really bad because it's like we don't really have downtime to kind of go back and go over everything. So I'm hoping that we can do like a really long Saturday live like we did last week and maybe do an entire recap of the whole week on the major points of information that is new to us in the public or that has been corrected on the stand. And we can kind of focus on that at the beginning and then go over the Saturday testimony. I'm kind of trying to play that by ear. It's really hard. So I wanted to show you guys that. So I'm putting all that together based on all of your guys' help. Sleuthy is amazing in putting together the notes from Andrew Burkhart. And I don't know if they want me to say who they are, but there's a couple other people who have been very gracious in putting together notes from Bob's lives, Lawyer Lee's live, Tom Webster's lives. And then we have, of course, Julie, which I'm not going to bring her up quite yet because I want to say hi to you guys first. But we have Julie, who's been in the courtroom almost every day so far. I know that next week is going to be harder for her because she has to compile a ton of work. somebody asked if I'm going to Delphi. I do have a flight to go out there for the third week of trial. I'm really trying to determine, based on what I have going on in my personal life with having to take care of my mom outside of surgery with the kids, if it's the right move to make if I don't have a guaranteed seat in the courtroom, because I don't know personally how I can just like try to figure out who's going to take care of my mom if I'm just wandering around Delphi. I'm trying to weigh it. So as of right now, yes, I do have a flight. I plan on going, but I don't want to promise that I'm going because I feel like I don't want to disappoint anybody. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But as of right now, yes, I have a flight to go. I have my place to stay. I'm trying to weigh it. And my husband's been going back and forth with me, and I'm very indecisive about stuff like that. So that's where that is. And then what's up, honey?
She's probably really sad.
Okay, why?
Well,
Okay. Should I call her? I'll call her when I'm done with my life. Okay. And then I did say plan a short stream on Saturday, recap Sundays. I wish I could, but I have so much to jam pack into my Sunday. There's just no way to do it life-wise. So Wednesdays are the hardest day for me and the kids because the timing where everybody gets out of school, we have to split it, my husband and I, and then we have multiple sports tonight. So I sent Sleuthy the link too. Julie is backstage. But I have to take my daughter to gymnastics because my husband will be at football with my little. So it's like if Sleuthy can come up or if Julie's going to be here, I can leave the stream like I did last week and then I can just come back to it. Or we can do a second live. It's going to be kind of up to whoever is able to come up and help. So just FYI. Okay, and let me say hi to you guys real quick. Fair, maybe Saturday can be like the week recap. Maybe we can line up guests to help out. That would be perfect, actually. Hey, Carrie. Hi, Susan. You do what's best for you. Well, except your kids. You need a nanny. I really wish I did. When are you doing this? When I have to leave, I have to take her at 4:45 my time, and then I get back at 5:15 my time. So that's like when you were doing the testimony or you were doing the read through of the document last week. Wednesdays are just really hard for me. I typically try, and lately I haven't been live just because of that. What is the link to this? I'll get it for you right now. It is not complete, but you can save the link and it will continue to update. It will continue to update as I update it. So, but it is not, I don't know if is that too many characters? Okay. Okay, well, hi to everybody that's here. Thank you guys for being here. There's 286 of you. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to bring Julie up just so we don't keep her all night. As soon as we ended the live last night, she was like, hey, I'm ready. And I'm like, well, shit, like I didn't want to make everybody like wait. And I also knew that Andrea was going live and I didn't want to like force Julie's hand to come up here. Hi, Julie.
Hi, how you guys doing?
I was like, I'll just, give her the night off. So maybe after today's info, she can recap us a little bit on what she experienced yesterday in court.
Yeah,
hi,
how
Julie.
you guys doing? Hi. I'm so tired. Everybody's tired. They're sitting in, after lunch that we don't get. if you want to get back in line, people were kind of like feeling like they're gonna nod off, and we were so happy to get out early today. This is my last day until the first week of November because I gotta actually go to work now. But actually, I said I want to go to work so I can relax.
Work is less stressful than going to the Delphi trial.
Seriously. So, very interesting day today. We heard from Sarah Carbaugh. She came in. I didn't know what to think. I actually didn't know her age. In my mind, I thought she was maybe some older, older, but she's, I think she's 35 now, is what she said, but, real long strawberry blonde hair, pretty gal. She came right in. She was kind of looking at everybody, almost like eye contact. And she, just very alert and sat on the stand. And right away I noticed, and a couple other people noticed, she positioned herself to face the jurors. So even before questioning started, she was facing the jurors, and I started getting a sense of this is going to be a rehearsal right here. Like this rehearsal is now, her debut.
You didn't get that sense yesterday with the other eyewitnesses, though, with Bree and Rayleigh and
Not
Betsy
at all.
Blair. Did they come in and sit facing the jury?
No, sometimes they maybe slightly turned toward them, so they could hear because it was hard to hear. But no, everybody else that's been on the stand, aside from a couple of the state's witnesses, like you've got the digital forensics guy and the people that are kind of working with law enforcement in the state. Aside from them, the actual witnesses, they're on the trail, very just normal. Like I know when I was, starting to have to get up on stand in March. I mean, you're nervous and you just want to be gracious and you want to, you just want to be respectful about the questions and you just want to answer. You don't. It's not like coming in there like you're owning the place. That's kind of
Right.
how it seemed. So Diener is the one that did the questioning with her. She asked about her living in Delphi and were you familiar with the Monon High Bridge and the Mears entrance? And she said yes. She drives by there every day because she lives nearby there. She asked if she if she walks the Monon High Bridge trail. And she said yes, 3 to 4 times a week and sometimes even twice a week. She asked if she had been on the Monon High Bridge before. She said she walked across it when she was 16. And 2 other times she said third time she chickened out. I noticed that right away she said, so they asked, were you by the Monon High Bridge on February 13th? And she says, yes, she was driving by the Mears entrance because she was going to walk, but she drove by the Mears entrance 3 or 4 times because she was scoping it out, trying to look for, just to see if it was busy, like the trails were busy. So she says, I drove by in my little red Saturn. that stood out to me. Like, why are you telling the car? Because already that they're going to have your car in the Hoosier Harbor Store footage,
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a statement I would give. I would just say, well, I drove by the trail, but she specifically said, I drove by my little red Saturn. It was a warm day for February. And I decided I wasn't going to walk then. So she goes, I drove around town in the countryside many a times to get sunlight in. And so she said probably about 4 hours. 4 hours driving around, drove past Mears entrance, driving around. And she said that there was a group of people
Why is
that
she
were
driving back and forth around there? Just because she wanted to check out to see how busy it was to go walk?
Yeah, and I want you to really pay attention. 4 hours. You're gonna notice some things as I talk here. Yeah, 4 hours. Well, she drove around. She thought it was busy and it was a nice day, so she drove around the countryside and tried to get fresh air. She said she drove around about 4 hours. She said so. Then she drove back to the Mears entrance, and she noticed there was a group of people. I thought she said like a pink moped. She said there's a group of people and they were talking, and I could just see they were stressed. They were stressed. And there was a gal that she, I think, recognized, with I don't know, blonde hair or whatever. But she said they were stressed. And I go, what do you mean they were stressed? Because I could just tell by the way they were talking they were stressed. So she went on to say, so then I was driving, and I noticed that there was a man covered in mud and blood walking on the side of the road. He was walking west toward town. I saw him on my driver's side. If you can, yeah, can you pull that out? I want this to make sense.
Oh, that's taking a second to want to actually load where I can move it, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. So she's saying that basically she's headed toward like the Mears, and he's walking away from the Mears, away from the trail, okay, towards, I guess if you want to say CPS, but towards town. And she said she saw him on the driver's side. So I want you to think about that. That means the driver's side. That means
Well, they said
you
that
know,
he was walking on the north side of the street, so that would be he would be over here, and so yeah, she would see him across the street from her driver's side. Okay,
okay, keep
did
that
she
in
say
mind.
cemetery or no?
What's that?
Did she say by the cemetery? Because that was reported by mainstream media.
No, no, no. She said that she was. It was kind of up in that area, up here in this area by the Mears area, kind of. Well, that Hoosier Harvest Store caught her, so it was like right past the Hoosier Harvest Store area.
Okay.
She said she says that she saw him. She's on the driver's side. Okay, so she saw him from the driver's side. Think about that. We know that country roads aren't very wide, but it's wide enough for two vehicles. So if you figure how wide each vehicle is, just keep that in mind, okay? Because she's going to come back and tell you how far away she was when she gets really combative during this whole crossing.
Okay, so from your understanding of where she's saying she saw him, it's between the Hoosier Harvest Store and the Mears parking lot. Is that your shit? Did we lose her? I'm trying to figure this out and why she reconnects. Fucking Delphi internet. I hope that somebody asks Julie what her provider is. The jurors probably will ask that at some point. Just kidding. But so here's the thing: is I've always had this issue, and why it's important to know where she saw him, because if he is walking on 300 North and she sees him on the north-hand side, if he walks from anywhere over here and passes the Mears parking lot at 3:57 or around that time, you have an entire parking lot full of people that he would have had to have walked by muddy and bloody. Which is why I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Now, if she sees him walking over here by Hoosier Harvest Store, the Hoosier Harvest Store camera is a consistently running camera. It's not motion censored. It's a consistently running camera. So now he has to walk over here and walk by the Hoosier Harvest Store camera. Right, we'll get to that, Miko. Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. But Julie will be right back. She's trying to get her thing reconnected. There she is.
Oh my word! Sorry, Meryl. Ashley is calling me. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just saying, where in the world did she say, from your understanding, did she see him? Because if she walked by Mears, the people in the parking lot would have seen her. If he walked by the Hoosier Harvest Store, the camera would have picked him up.
Well, exactly. So she was saying it was somewhere past Hoosier Harvest Store.
It's over here.
I can't see there. Past Hoosier Harvest Store.
Right here's Hoosier Harvest Store. So is it on the west side or the east side of Hoosier Harvest Store?
Well, she says she's going eastbound. He's walking west, and she saw him across the street, which makes absolutely no sense. That means he's walking on the same side as Mears.
Right, he's walking over here. But where on 300 North? We don't know.
Yeah, it's up closer, like towards Freedom Bridge.
Wait. Okay. She sees him over here?
No, not that far. No, not that far.
Right in here.
It's somewhere in there, I believe. Verify it because it was hard to see, but it was somewhere in there because it didn't make any sense to me because I'm thinking, wait a minute. If you saw him walking on 300 across the street there, he would have been caught on the cameras and everything. So unless he came out of the woods over there and then crossed the street, it doesn't make any sense to cross the street. Mm-hmm. If you are parked at CPS, okay, and you're going to the CPS building to get your car, why in the world would you be walking on the side of the street opposite? So I just want you to keep this in mind. Okay.
No, so yeah, because he's walking. Yeah, why wouldn't he stay on this side of why wouldn't he stay on the south side of 300 North? Somebody in chat said that it was on her passenger side, but that can't be. No, that can't be because she's driving east, which they've said in all the documentation from both sides, which is something weird that they agree on. She's driving east. He's walking west on the north side, which is over here. So now could she? if she sees him on this side, that means he's already passed this group of people that she now puts in this parking lot. Or do we know that, how many times is she saying she passed the Mears parking lot?
She went 4 times. I think 3 or 4 times. 3 or 4 times. Okay, listen to what she says. She goes, I was driving about 30 to 35 mile an hour, and I slowed down because I saw this man. She said, I saw him on the driver's side. I looked at him, but he didn't look at me. He didn't have any eye contact with me. She said she didn't recognize the man. She was asked, did you know Abby and Libby were missing? She goes, no, not at the time. So they showed the state exhibit. They showed the road where that she was on. She made an initial where she circled where the Mears was, the Mears entrance was. And then she made a vertical line to designate the area where she was going to label where she saw where bridge guy, because she goes, that's how I know him as. So that's what I'm going to label him as. And she said, when she learned the girls were missing, did you go home? She goes, well, I did it. And I learned that there was a picture of the guy on the news. So I saw him. She said, Dina said, did you recognize the man that you saw earlier? She said, yeah, I recognize the man. He was covered in mud and blood. And he was covered in mud and blood. And his demeanor was that he was walking on the side of the road. And she got up and she demonstrated without being asked to. She got up and she demonstrated that he was walking kind of hunched over, kind of with his face down, and his hands were in his pockets. She said that they showed the jurors of the mud and blood. Okay, so what they did was they took a picture of Bridge Guy, and she marked where she showed it to the jurors, and she showed where she saw the mud and blood on his legs and allegedly up this high.
Okay, I have to ask you real quick. Is she saying she saw the picture of the guy on the bridge that night? Because that
she said, I saw a picture. Yeah. Well, she said I saw a picture. Yeah. Was it out that night?
no. That's why I'm wondering if she said that night, or just like later she saw a picture.
Maybe later she saw a picture. She saw that night. No, she did. You learned that there was a picture of a guy on the news. That's what the question was, did you learn that there was a picture of the guy in the news? Yes. I recognized the man I saw earlier.
It didn't come out. I think it came out the night of the photo came out, I think, the night of the 15th, and then they did more on the 16th. But I don't think the photo was actually out until the 15th.
Oh, you know what? When they're asking her this, it was 3 weeks later she went to the police.
Okay, that's when they're talking about. Okay, keep going. Sorry, I interrupted. I just wanted to clarify.
That's why it wasn't making sense to me. I'm like, they didn't release it that night. So within the 3 weeks period of time, she saw a picture of him on the news, and she recognized it was the man that she saw earlier that was covered in mud and blood. She was asked, did you recognize the man? She said, no. And tell me about the man. He was covered in mud and blood, and his demeanor as he was walking on the side of the road was kind of hunched over. Tell us what was different. Well, about the guy. Well, his demeanor was sketchy, she said. She showed the jurors the mud and blood, the hands in the pocket, kind of head down. She said that she thought maybe because there was so much blood, like down by like his feet and little areas, she thought that maybe he fell down a cliff and got hurt. And she said, she goes, was that something you normally see? Somebody walking along the side of the road? She goes, no, it's not normally something I'd see. Now, here's what caught me, because you know the timeline probably better than I do as far as what time they said this. She goes, do you know about what time it was? She goes, well, I think it was about 4:30, because I remember the orange glow hue, with the Indiana sunsets. So the sun was setting in the background, and I distinctly remember that orange glow hue, like as the sun was kind of going down. Now she says 4:30, but I guess on the actual time might be 3:56 on the Hoosier Harvestor video, because there was that time.
357 is what's in the PCA. 357 is what they say that she saw him at 3:57 p.m.
Ooh. Now what do I? Okay. Well, I even said something to Andrea. I said, she remembers it to be about 4:30. Okay. And then but then wait, you just wait. This gets better. She remembers it to be 4:30, and I know that. Okay, if they're adjusting the time for the Hoosier Harvest Store, that to 3:57. I hope that it really was 3:57, and they're not using. They're not all like They said that the time was off, but sometimes they didn't indicate what the Hoosier Harvest Store time said versus the discrepancy in the time. Which what they should have done is say, okay, really it was on the clock, on the Hoosier Harvest Store clock it showed this time, but it was really this time. They should have compared both times, so the actual time versus the Hoosier Harvest Store time, but they didn't. Just to verify, because sometimes they would delineate that, hey, even though the Hoosier Harvest Store shows this time, it was really this time. They didn't do that with this. So they just said on the Hoosier Harvest Store video, it was 3:57. Because part of me wonders, what if they're just they'll accept the Hoosier Harvest Store time as actual time when it's not really the right time, because it fits more of the timeline of their narrative. So they use it as it fits the narrative, because she's saying it was closer to 4:30. So I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, she says, did you contact the police after you saw the photo on the news? She said, yes, 3 weeks later. She goes, I'm just very, very terrified about murders and everything, and of just anything to do with murder. And I thought about it. And she says, when 3 weeks later, they were asking anybody, they actually had roadblocks set up, and they were taking descriptions of, tips from people that might have seen something. So she just felt like, okay, I need to do this. I need to stop and give a tip. So she turned in. She said that these murders turned this small town upside down. And the question was asked, when law enforcement contacted you 3 weeks later, did you give the witness statement? And so she had a witness statement, and they showed her the still shots from Hoosier Harvest Store video. So these are exhibits. Exhibit 249. It's of her car that she used to have. She says, yeah, that's my car I used to have. The time shows. Now they told us in court 3:56, because this is my second time I wrote 3:56 down.
Okay.
Is that when you drove by? Yes, and she said so. Let me see. Okay, so she marked for the jury that that was her passing. She just marked it yes, that's me. And so that was basically all they wanted from her. Okay. So then Andy Baldwin comes up and does the cross-examination. One thing that I've noticed, maybe this is how all trials are, when the prosecution asks questions, they're gung-ho, they're all, right, just loud, really, you can hear them, confident. And when the defense asks the questions, they kind of get real kind of quiet like this, almost like weaken their voice as they answer. I don't know what to make of it, but everybody's been doing that. So Andy Baldwin said, so you used the word mud 11 times in an interview with police, but you never used blood. And she goes, I did, but in the transcript and interviews, she started kind of like mumbling. I couldn't hear mumbling in the interview. Oh yeah, she goes, she said I was mumbling in the interview. She said I did use muddy and bloody, but I was kind of mumbling in the interview, like they didn't hear it. Okay.
I was mumbling in the interview.
Yeah, mumbling in the interview. That's why maybe they didn't hear the blood.
Jesus fuck. Okay.
So first he said, first you didn't say mud and blood. She goes, I did. Then you start to see her cop in an attitude. She starts getting like combative. In the transcript, It does not state blood. She goes, no, I said mud and blood. He says, and then so he's like, okay, he goes, 2 weeks later, you said mud 13 times. Also never said the word blood.
So she said it mud 11 times in her first interview, 13 times in her second interview, and never says blood. But she
Correct.
says that she's mumbling in the interview.
The first time. Okay.
What about the second interview? Is she mumbling then?
He didn't say that. Okay. She goes, well, then she said, there's a portion of the interview because I've not been able to watch because it's just gone. She goes, where I was standing up and I was describing where the mud and blood was. She says that part's missing.
So now she's told the jury that there's evidence missing.
Yes.
Good job, Sarah Carbaugh.
Yeah. Okay. So then the second interview says June of 2017. Here's the transcript. Baldwin handed it to Sarah to read. He said, show me where you use the word blood in that transcript. So she takes some time to read it. She goes, well, I do not see the word in here, but I remember talking to that officer and saying it. He said, there was no one preventing you from saying the word blood, correct? She said, yeah, correct. Okay, he said, you have said the word muddy. This is 2 years later. Oh, yeah, she goes, well, this is 2 years later, and the details are kind of foggy. I saw a bridge man. That's what she calls him, she said. And he was muddy and bloody, walking along the side of the road, and that's that. She said it just like that. And he says, well, you only use bloody in the third interview, not, you only use bloody in the third interview, not the mud. She goes, well, I believe I did. So in the March 2017 transcript, he handed it to Sarah so she could read it. She reviewed it through pages, and she's put her head up and said something. Nobody could hear what she said. Then she went back down to read it. She goes, well, it was the mud. I do not see mud. He goes, well, a moment ago, your description was mud and blood. And he said, like 16 times. She goes, that's not true. That's not true, right? She said, I guess not. Because she didn't actually say that in that transcript. He says, one time you said it looked like a hog had been slaughtered. She goes, well, I've never slaughtered a hog, so I don't know what it looks like to slaughter a hog. And he goes, well, you thought that the guy had fallen down the cliff, you said it had blood. Did you ever think to kind of stop and see if he needed help? She goes, I'm a woman. I'm not going to stop a random man walking along the road. He said, well, you said he had a tan coat. It changed to a blue coat on your second interview. And you saw after you saw the bridge guy image. She goes, correct. It was always blue. She goes, the reason my memory remembers more brown than blue is because he was covered in so much mud. So my mind's thinking brown. Please show me the photo. Please. Oh, she goes, please. He says, can I remind you? Can I show you? She goes, please don't show me that photo. That's what basically she told the cops not to show her the photo of the guy. But he did. but he did. Okay.
He showed her the photo anyway.
Oh, yes. And she said, so there are photos plastered she goes, well, there's photos plastered all over town. How can you not see it? So after the image, after you saw the image, your story changed. She said, no, my story never changed. Just my anxiety and all this changed. He said, you indicated wearing a brown sweater under a blue coat and with curly hair. She goes, he had a little bit of hair, just a little bit of hair poking through. And by the way, what she said was, that was consistent with what Sarah Carbaugh
with Betsy
said.
Blair.
Oh, excuse me, Betsy. Yeah, Betsy Blair had said there was a little hair poking through.
She's driving by this guy at 30 to 35 miles an hour
Oh,
She
yeah.
knows exactly where there's mud, exactly where there's blood, and how much of his hair is sticking out.
Yep. Okay. You said, now wait,
So
listen to this.
he says hair though, so that's going to be an issue. If she does see hair, I don't. These guys. I'm so surprised Nick put all these fucking eyewitnesses on the
I
stand.
couldn't believe it. Okay. He said, you said in your report, he had effeminate eyes or feminine like eyes. She goes, wait, what? I never said he had romantic eyes. That's how she interpreted it. She goes, he goes, would it help your recollection to see your transcript? She goes, no, I'm good. I could not believe she said that. No, she goes, no, I'm good. And she rolled her eyes. She was rolling her eyes at Baldwin.
Oh
She
my
goes,
god.
I don't recall saying he had effeminate eyes. He said, do you want to read the transcript? No, I'm good. Again, that's the second time she said, no, I'm good. She says, I had my phone with me, and one of the reasons they contacted me was because it pinged off the tower that I drove by, and they interviewed every person that was pinging to that tower. What was your cell service? She said, Verizon. And then she said something we couldn't hear, but you could tell she was losing her temper, and then she was like going like this, raising her hand like that, and just describing something. We couldn't hear what she was saying. So he said, let's see. So you were
Is
going,
she the one who had originally stated that the person didn't have blue eyes, or is that Betsy Blair?
uh,
Do you remember that? That's not. I don't think they testified to anything about the blue eyes, or do they?
no, they do. Somebody said he had brown eyes. Where did I see that? That was yesterday, right? Brown eyes.
Oh yeah, that he did not have blue eyes. That all they could say
Correct.
was that he did not have blue eyes, and that's what Kim Riley said in a press conference.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember
Because I
what
think
witness it was for.
really somebody said he had brown eyes. So he said, so you think you were driving about 35 mile an hour? She goes, I believe so. I mean, I didn't look at the gauge, but I did slow down. I'd say, he goes, well, he said, you're telling me, you saw the hair and all this stuff. He says, okay, so how long would you say you looked at him? She goes, because he not long, right? But she goes, I'd say 30 seconds.
Dang, 30 seconds. Okay.
Okay, you guys, she's driving. She's
Yeah.
looking at him for 30 seconds.
Drive past somebody and see for 35 miles an hour. Drive by somebody and see how long that lasts. 30 seconds, my ass.
30 seconds. 30 seconds, okay? I mean, you're far behind me in like 2 seconds. And even if you're coming up to him, you're not seeing anything. You just know there's a person walking. She said she got a good look at him for 30. It was laughable. We were all like, oh my God, this is so bad. For 30 seconds.
Will
She
she
said,
stop on the side of the road and stare at him for a minute?
no, that's it. He said, well, you had a glance. You said you had a glance. Yeah, I got a glance at him. He goes, you know how long 30 seconds is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's count it out right now. Judge
Yeah.
Go would have been like, no.
She goes,
Objection.
I
Sustained.
didn't look at him. I didn't look at him long enough. Like I couldn't tell you if he had any freckles or feminine. And she did that like feminine eyes. This is how she was behaving, like really very combative. So then Diener got back up there. She goes, okay. She said, as far as a sweater, you describe. She said, a sweater. Describe it. She goes, well, it was a hoodie. She goes, it was a pullover, like a pullover with pockets. But there was a hood on back. Now listen, this is supposed to be the hoodie he's wearing underneath the jacket. So
she can see that. She sees that he has this. Okay.
but how is she going to see these pockets? But so maybe it's her description of what a hoodie is. Okay. And she goes, the main thing I knew is it was under his jacket. And he had a hood on. Did you see a hat? She says, yes, a hat. She said, there was this hat. She said, like, this is a funny looking hat. Did it have a brim on it? Yes. A bill? Yes. But like I couldn't tell you because it was like a kind of different looking hat. Maybe she's like, I don't know. There was just something about it. Could you have? And then I hate what they're doing here. Could you have mistaken that hat for hair? See, this is what they did. This is what one of the jurors did yesterday when they asked, when Betsy Blair said she saw a guy with kind of poofy brown hair, the juror said, "Could you have mistaken that hat for a hair or hair?
So it would
The
have been
hair for the hair?
a puffy haired hat.
Well, that's what I'm saying." And then she goes, "Well, I don't know what maybe she could have." She goes, "Because his hoodie was kind of pulled up. Maybe it pushed it she's like, maybe it was pushing that forward." But then she went back to say, "No, it was a hat. He was wearing a hat." And then she goes, "A hat," because I could see just his lower earlobes were showing. He was hunched over. He was just very sketchy. He was just like all to himself.
She saw this guy for like a half a fucking second.
But yeah, but see, this is, I want you to, the last part is like, okay, then you realize, oh my gosh, okay.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. Okay, so you said that you offered your cell phone. Yes, me and my family, my neighbors, we all offered our cell phones, and we give any interview because we live near there, so our phones would have pinged by there. So the officers indicated that there were pinged phones that came in there. So now you had the opportunity to observe your second interview, and you noticed a portion of your interview was missing. It was an hour and a half long. She goes, "Well, I saw it. Did you say?" It said, "Wait a second." Oh, because she was saying that there was mud and blood. You said that there was mud and blood on your interview. She said yes, but that there was a portion missing. But they didn't follow up on it. Dina didn't follow up on it. So officers showed her a picture of the bridge guy she had seen, and that she had marked it muddy and bloody. And they showed her this Snapchat photo of bridge guy. There was an objection from the defense of that they offered her the story of, just a second, I can't read that. Oh, because she started instead of just answering the question, she started saying, yeah. She goes, "And by the way, everybody was really invested in da 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 da." And then the defense objected to her rattling on beyond the question that was asked of her.
Okay.
Because she said, "Please, we're starting to look into thousands of tips, blah 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 blah." So
Who said that? She said that?
Yeah.
Sarah did?
Yeah. And they stopped her. They objected because she was going on and on. She just offered this information of herself. So there was an exhibit 221. That's a bridge guy. Diener was saying, during June of 2017, for an hour and a half, did you indicate to the officer in a photo that you believed that to be bridge guy? She said yes. And you marked on it yes. Showing the jeans, the photo, she said, did you show that it was muddy and bloody? Yes. She goes, well, and she looked at it. She was holding a picture, kind of holding the jurors, and she was kind of showing where there was muddy and bloody, and it was hard to see. She goes, if I would have known I was going to be given this as evidence, I would have done a nicer job and got a little marker on it and everything. If I would have known it was going to come to this, she said. And then she indicated that he was caked with mud, and he had so much mud that she just knew he had to have been down there by the creek or by the water. She just knew it. Okay.
Objection, speculation.
Yeah, I'm surprised nothing happened with that one. So in the first interview, did you indicate to the officer there was mud and blood? Yes. The second officer, mud and blood, or the second interview, mud and blood. The third, mud and blood. And oh no, not. And the third one, no. She didn't talk about the mud. She said because she thought that it was more important to know about blood. So she didn't mention mud in the third interview. So Baldwin's saying, okay, so are you telling, so now Baldwin comes in. He said, so, and she said, it was just so much, and there was just, all this stuff going on, and commotion. She goes, so he said, so you're saying you were exhausted from these interviews, and so you left out mud on this one. So she goes, and you mentioned we were focusing on blood. Who's we? She said, me and the we is me and the investigators.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then he says, okay, he wanted to talk about the mud and blood thing. I think he was starting to ask a question. He goes, "Are we going through?" She goes, "Are we going through this again?" She said it just like that. I mean, we all, everybody. That's it. When everybody in the courtroom was like, "Oh my God, she's like a hostile witness." Um, Andrea, she'll tell you. She said it reminded her of who's the person that Johnny Depp was in court with. She said
Amber
it
Heard.
Yeah, she goes, "This is an Amber Heard all over." She goes, "Okay, so there's the video is she goes, if the video is missing, that's not my fault." She goes, the image that was taken from Libby's phone. Let me see something. She said it's the image that was taken from Libby's phone. She goes, and she looked at him. She goes, "It's mud and blood, mud and blood." And she got super defensive. And so then the jury had some questions for her. So that was kind of like, and he just, I think he just kind of ended it because it's not in there. He indicated so many times you didn't say that. And he basically, what Baldwin was saying is, as this time went by, you never saw it, but after you saw the photo, you saw how much, all the hype that was going on in this case. As you saw that, then your story began to change. And she's like, "Well, no, muddy and bloody, always muddy and bloody. But you didn't say blood in the first one. You didn't say blood in the second one. And then you only said blood in the third one." So the jury then comes in. So he was resting his case. Says, "What was your age?" And the jury asked, "What was your age in 2017? She goes, "I'm 35 now, so 26, 27. Um, how wide is the country road?" Oh, wait, we're not done though, because we're not done on this.
No, because they get to go back and ask questions based on the questions the jury asks.
Yeah.
She's young. She was young at the time. 20,
Okay.
or not young, but she wasn't old. Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
26ish. Yeah.
She says, "Well, it's it's a country road. It's not wide as a regular road. If like two big trucks got on it, then one of them might have to kind of go off the side of the road of two trucks. But if like two cars, they can fit on it. So that was good. So it go off the road. Can you conclude why he had blood spatter?" She says, "Well, just because I could see it on there, he had she said he had whitewashed jeans on." And so she said whitewashed is what she called it. Whitewashed jeans. And so that just kind of showed up on the jeans. It says, "How obvious were the blood spatters?" She goes, well, it was bright. It was still bright. The blood, she said. Now think about this. I don't care. I mean, somebody try it. If you get blood on you, yes.
It'd be dark. It's not going to be red.
No, she said it was bright red. Okay.
Yeah. I hope somebody. Did the jury bring that up at all? I mean, like.
No, they just said, "How did you know? I mean, how obvious was it? How did you know that? I mean, how did you recognize a blood spatter?" And that's what she goes, "Well, because he had the whitewashed jeans, and it wasn't like," she goes, "it wasn't like dried. It wasn't dried. It was like bright red." Okay. And then she said, "Okay, then Baldwin, they wanted to know, maybe this is still, how close were you to this man?" I think Baldwin asked this. Baldwin did. She says, 3 feet. He said, you testified you were 20 feet away." She goes, "Well, I'm driving." She goes, 3 feet. She goes, "He was right by he was on the driver's side, 3 feet." He goes, and he's like, 3 feet. He's on the driver's side.
Driving on the wrong side of the road? Sorry.
No,
sorry,
that's the thing is, she doesn't know her calculations. 3 feet? You can't, I mean, you're going to take somebody
not good
out.
With time, and she's not good with distance.
No,
it happens.
She even goes, "He was right." She goes, "He was 3 feet." She holds her hand up. She goes, "He was right here, 3 feet from me." She does not know. I mean, he's on in the opposite, on the edge of the opposite lane. Okay, you're driving down the road, the right lane, hopefully. You got the other direction of this person walking, and she's saying that he was 3 feet from her. And how do you get, if you're driving 30 to 35 mile an hour, she said she slowed down a little bit. How do you get a look at this guy? Okay, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. I mean, how 30 seconds did you stop your car? No, they didn't ask her that. And then she goes, well, I didn't take the ruler out and just say, hey, wait a minute, let me measure the distance from my window to you. Is it 17 inches? She said that. I have it right here. She goes, no, I was driving.
Okay.
They told her to step down. That was her testimony.
Okay, so how did the jury look?
Look, you mean in regards to her testimony?
Yes.
When she was combative, they were like, ooh. And by the way, I know which juror numbers. I know which one I know how they numbered the jurors, because one of the jurors didn't get a document, and they said Judge Gall said juror number 12 needs something. This was for something else. Number 12 didn't get something, and he kind of was like, was
So you knew what. So how did they number them? Like we did or not?
How did we do? We started at the left.
We did top left. Top left is 1, and then across to 6, and then second row 7 to 12. No.
Guess what?
Okay.
The guy that I thought was number 6. So if you go left to right as you read, the guy that I thought number was 6 on the top right is juror number 12. So you could probably figure it out that way.
Okay, so it's 1 is the bottom left over to 6. Okay, so it's just opposite rows. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, and a couple people in chat brought this up too, that you had told us a little bit about the jurors when you were on before, and it's an older. I mean, there's a lot of older women on this jury. I'm wondering if you saw anything like. Older women don't typically like younger women to be extremely disrespectful like this.
Yeah. I mean,
did you see any type of reaction like that at all?
I saw them kind of, people going like, they kind of like, kind of looking like that, like, God, lady, like, settle down. Because she started off almost like, my daughter used to watch all those little Disney shows, like Saved by the Bell and all that stuff. And it's almost like, she was coming in for a performance for, some kind of Disney show. She faced them. She's talking like this. She's taking command of the courtroom. She's saying, yes, I drove by the mirrors in my little red Saturn. And, it was very rehearsed. And then as the defense started questioning her, and Andy was so nice. And Andy even, when she goes, you're going to start asking me that again. And she rolled her eyes, and she kind of looked, and she threw her head, and he actually took his glasses down, and he went like, you're being disrespectful. It was just terrible. It was really terrible. It was terrible. And then
could you tell that, did you happen to look throughout the gallery, like at the family or other people who were watching the testimony to get like an idea of what, like, was anybody like kind of, like you like straighten your back, like, oh shit, like this is like, could you get like, what was the sense you got from the gallery? I shouldn't be leading you into what
everybody was looking at each other and shaking their head. And they're shaking their head, and they're right, and they're just like, oh my gosh. So I could tell the consensus was the same. She started off appearing to be, wow, this is the best witness you've got here. And, she was coming across really well, and then she got very combative, and then her distance judging, and then the fact that she had changed in her statement, saying that the guy was 3 feet from her, saying that she got to look 30 seconds at her. Obviously, she's a very poor judge, and that just told me she's not a good witness. She was wrong she didn't have the statement with the mud and blood in the first 2, then left the mud out in the 3rd interview. And it's to me, she's as good as not at all. I mean, now I'm not saying that she didn't see possibly Bridge Guy, because
We have
there's
no
one thing
idea.
she doesn't have any idea. But I will say that the testimony yesterday, the testimony yesterday, I would say there was the 3 witnesses, even though they had contradictory statements from their original statements, they all did say the same thing, that this guy was taller. Um, Betsy Blair said he was average height, or he wasn't short. And both of the girls said that he was taller. I think Riley said she thought he was like 5'10" or so, 5'10", 5'11", and the other, and Bree said he was taller as well. And some of this description that they gave was very similar. The
Did Sarah Carbaugh say how tall she thought he was? Did anybody ask her how much? Like, did he appear muscular? Did he appear heavy set? Did he appear?
They did ask if he appeared he appeared muscular. She said, well, she couldn't tell because he was hunched over, kind of, hunched over like that. So they did ask about that appearing muscular. She's like, well, maybe. I mean, he could, yeah, kind of. I couldn't tell because he's kind of hunched over like that. Man, I tell you what, Dr. Core's thing is, I don't
Okay.
even.
Well, let me see if there's any other major questions in chat. Thank you guys for being here. All of you guys that are here watching right now. I appreciate you guys being here and listening. I was not in the courtroom. Julie was in the courtroom, so she's giving us her recap of her notes for anybody who is joining late. She was apparently driving 30 to 35 miles an hour, Shane. So I just want to see if there's any other questions about Sarah Carbaugh and her testimony, or what anybody thought about her testimony in chat before we move on to the next one, because the next one gets heavy and I don't want to go back to Sarah. So just making sure. Ask Julie what goal was. How did you look at goal why Sarah was testifying?
Yeah, she was just, she really, I could sense a little of her. She didn't have a whole lot of emotion, but I could see she was very aware of the attitude that was coming from Sarah, because honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if she was ready to cuss him out. It was the her hostility was increasing, the way she was answering, but that it was like slowly escalating with the way she was, and she was so disrespectful. That's the, I mean, there's a way, like, if
what was her reasoning why she waited 3 weeks to come forward?
I think it's
I'll tell you what mainstream said.
because she'd seen the guy, but she was like, oh no, she didn't. I don't think she actually had one. And she until she saw something on the picture on the news, she didn't know he was anybody that was anything special. She's just like, you don't usually see people like that, but didn't really think that he was anything to worry about. She never looked back and went on her way.
So mainstream media reported that she testified that she was like a cowardly lion, and that she could only sum it up that she was chicken.
Okay.
They actually said she was a cowardly liar, but I'm assuming that was a typo, and she said cowardly lion. But did you hear anything like that? Like, you can just summarize it to that I'm a cowardly lion and that I was just a chicken.
No, that part was where I couldn't hear it, and then I heard the tail end of her saying that she she decided to come forward because she saw that they were doing the roadblocks and taking tips and that kind of a thing. So I mean, I was kind of like, people around us were like, this is not good, like, she needs to get off the stand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear her say anything about a girl in a pink shirt? I think at the beginning of talking about Sarah, you mentioned that you thought maybe she said a pink moped, or you heard pink, but you weren't sure what it was actually about.
Yeah, I heard something about there was a girl that had a pink something. And you know what, Andrea might have gotten that. So whatever, I'm definitely not as I think I'm pretty thorough, but I think Andrea's I think I must need hearing aids or something. I can't.
We were going to ask you this yesterday. We had determined that we wanted to ask you if you were able to request the hearing assistance in the courtroom.
I actually didn't, because I wanted to, but I don't know. I wouldn't know how to go about that. When I go back, okay, hopefully when you come out, we can get some hearing assistance, because by the time
I know I'll need it. I got tiny ears. I don't know if you guys know this, but I got tiny ears and I don't hear things very well. That's my excuse always.
Okay,
Phoebe Beach asked, was her car seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera 4 times?
They didn't bring that up. They just showed her at the time that she's at the time that she was seen. Let me look here. If they had a photo of her car. She said she had gone by 4 times, 3 to 4 times, she said. Have you been there? Yeah. I drove by in my little red Saturn, scoping out the trail at least 3 to 4 times. I think it was. Don't quote me. That'd be a good question. I'm hoping maybe Andrea will bring that up.
Okay, somebody in chat said maybe that they think it was a pink camisole. Does that sound? So obviously, I think anybody who's been paying attention to the trials thus far, audio is not always the best. So there are pieces that don't get heard or get missed. So she heard something about pink. Mainstream media reported that it was a pink shirt. I don't know.
Had to be a pink shirt then, because I thought, well, would it be a moped? But it sounded like that's what she said. I couldn't hear what she said, and I asked, the person next to me, like, I don't know what it was. Something pink. She saw, that's what caught her eye, because it was pink. And then the girls, the people there were stressed, and you could tell they were stressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right, we're gonna go next to the forensic pathologist who performed the autopsies.
This is one long. I'm gonna summarize some of this stuff. Okay, you guys all know Dr. Core. He's a retired forensic pathologist from Terre Haute. He examined the bodies. He got up there, told his whole history. Don't worry, he's well qualified by all appearances here. They define, what's an autopsy. It means that to see for yourself. There's stages of autopsy. And how is it that somebody's brought to you that you do the autopsy? It's by the coroner and deputy coroner, and they request an autopsy. So if why is it being done? If criminals, officers are present, they get the body, observe the body back. What's the reason it's being done? So like if it's in a crime, if it's a reason that they need to look at a body for evidence or whatever, clothing, that sort of thing, they do it. They make notes: hair color, eye color, blood, bruises, fractures, wounds, all that stuff. Document stains. They check to see if there's any insect activity like maggots, or activity that's like, I think I had flies on there. Photograph the body. Then they clean the body. They rinse it down. But in case of sexual assault, they do like the sexual assault kit before that. They get wound measurements. They get the type of wound, for instance, like a gunshot or, a sharp object, stab wound or whatever. And they document that location. Sometimes, he said, on rare occasions, they'll get x-rays. Once this is all done, they get blood samples from the right side of the body, and they rotate in a rotation of large blood vessels. And they shift large vessels to large vessels in the chest against the liver. I can't read this. Oh, I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to see what I just said here.
You're good.
Okay, then the femoral artery, an internal exam is done to see the wounds. After they do the external, they do the internal. They open up the chest cavity, the abdominal cavity. They check for normal disease process. The last thing that's done is the head. He said the head, they pull the scalp down, and then they examine that, and then they go to the
Jeez.
brain. The brain is, sorry, I mean,
No, you're
brain,
good. You're good. Just a little trigger warning. Like I was telling you guys, this is the forensic pathologist who performed the autopsies, so it gets very detailed.
yeah,
When I was younger, I was in a couple autopsies, and they're pretty, I
yeah.
mean, medically
I've
very
seen one.
interesting, but very hard to be in.
He said, so they'll pull the scalp down, and then they end up going to the back, and they open up the skull, and then they go in and look into the brain and observe the structures in the brain. Then the lungs, pancreas, spleen, esophagus. They look at the male and female structures. And then eventually, when they go in the organs, they even touch them, feel them. They even dissect them. They even weigh the organs if it looks like, if it looks like it's enlarged or whatever. They feel them. They dissect them. And then they end up putting the organs in a bag, and then they put them back. They put them in the abdominal cavity, and then close that so that they can take them for the embalming process.
Okay.
When they take him to the funeral home or whatever. They asked how
Okay.
many. He's done a total of 77 to 7,800 autopsies. You testified in 12 to 15 jurisdictions in Indiana, Illinois, Montana, California, and somewhere else, is what he said. He said, I testified on behalf of, is just a second, let me see something, just a second. Latrell was asking him these questions. It's a basically get to know you, what's autopsies, what do you do, that kind of thing. He said, I testify on behalf of whoever sends me the subpoena, is what he said. But primarily the prosecution sends me to testify.
Okay.
So Latrell hands him the exhibits 123 through 137. He handed them to Dr. Core. He's looking at him. He says, were you contacted on, February 14th to conduct autopsies? He said, I was. Did you perform an autopsy? He said, yes, on the girls, both of them.
When?
On 2/15.
What time?
Actual time?
He doesn't testify to the time?
Interesting. I'll tell you something. Andy will kind of get a little bit to that about the time, because it coincides with time of death. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
look at these
I'll
images. Have you seen these images before? Do they accurately depict these? Yes. He goes, I recognized them during the course of conducting the autopsies on these two young women in my facility. Okay, I'm going to show you a photo 222. Have you seen it? He says, yes. There's another close-up of the injuries. Have you seen it? Yes. Were you present? We can't see any of this. We're trying to look, So he said there's internal and external photos. Yes. So on inside and outside. And they said they had more to publish, 123 through 137. They wanted to publish these to the jury, but then there was a request to remove the close-up of 222. And then there was some question about, they had the 222, but they thought it was 403 on there. And I was asking Andrea, like, what is all, they took a long time to figure something out. I'm like, what are they doing? She said, I think there's something about the numbers are messed up. So I guess there were some that weren't published, and there was one that they left out, like whatever. So Latrell said,
evidence stuff.
Yeah, it's just like some of the photos that they took at the autopsy. So Latrell says, on Wednesday, February 15th, you conducted 2 autopsies. Correct. Describe, how do you do these? He goes, well, after the autopsy, I fill out a sheet of the height, weight, wounds. And he says, afterwards, after I'm done with this, I go to my office while it's fresh in my mind, and I get a general report. So in between, so he does one at a time. He does one. He does all this while it's fresh in his mind. He says, and then he documents any abnormal findings. During this time, they clean up, they wash everything down, and then they start another one. So Let's start with Abby Williams. That was the first autopsy. Did you have
Okay.
the height and weight? Yes, 64 inches and 95 pounds. Document.
Hold on, 95 pounds. The jeans in the creek are a size 26 by 33. I'll get back to
yeah.
that. I'm making a note. I should have said that out loud. Keep going.
Okay, let me plug this battery in. Let me see. Uh-oh.
64 inches is 5'4" for anybody who doesn't want to do that math.
Uh-oh. Hang on just a second.
You're good.
Okay, just a minute. Okay. Okay, yeah, 5'4". So she had on the clothes. Okay, so then he documents the clothes. She had a black hoodie, the blue jeans, the pink top, the gray and blue sports bra, that camisole. There's a black camisole. What was the other one? The clothes she had on.
Okay.
Pink shirt. So pink shirt, camisole, sports bra, which was, gray and blue. The blue jeans. What do I have? What do I have? SS. And black hoodie. Oh. Maybe I was trying to write Delphi swimming. I was trying to write Delphi swimming.
Okay, the sweatshirt.
Okay. So he did an external exam. There was a wound across the neck. It was about 5 centimeters. He said it was 2 to 2.5 inches long, and it looked like it actually. Okay, it was on the side of her neck. It, like if you made it make almost looking like an eye, but a little curved up, almost like this. If you did an okay like that, but two to it was on the left side of like her neck right here. They showed a schematic drawing of it first.
Just for quick before you move on. So was she actually wearing 2 bras, or she's wearing a sports bra and a camisole?
2 bras. She had a black bra on. Then she had a sport bra. See that we were talking about the bra? That's it. Because they didn't name the bra when he was saying this. If he did, I will tell you something. Everybody in the courtroom. I mean, the lady, that Dateline NBC lady, she's throwing her hands up. She's like, you could not hear this pathologist, and literally he was talking like this. I'm not kidding.
It's not funny, but it's. Oh man.
You couldn't hear things. And then, I mean, it was so bad. And then so when we took a break because it was so long, when we came back, I had gone up to Rosie and I said, nobody can hear what he's saying. Would you please ask to speak up? So then Judge Gull, after the break, she's like, I am understanding that members of the public can't hear, Dr. Kaur. And I'm sorry about that. But the members of the jury can hear him okay. So, that's that basically. Okay. And
okay, so did they say the size of the bras?
Yes. I thought they said the size. Just a second. It was a 30. Does 34A sound right? That was the other day.
Okay. Somebody said that, but what about the second bra?
I asked Andrea, I said, did they find a bra in the creek? I don't remember seeing a bra.
No, Abby was supposedly wearing 2 bras. But I'm going to let you keep going through it. We'll do some research on this, and we'll go back to it at the end. So keep going through.
Okay, Abby had a black bra on that looked like it fit her. Then she had a sport bra over it. Then she had a camisole, black camisole. Then she had a pink shirt. Then she had a hoodie. Okay. So she had all those shirts on. And the black bra looked like it fit her very well, like it was hers. And so did the sport bra. Looked like they both belonged to her. Yeah. Okay. So he said they asked, was that the only wound was that her only wound? Yes. That was the only wound on the neck. Did you utilize ISP collection kit, blood stain to do the vaginal? It's for the rape kit. I think it was. Yes, yeah. They were asking about that, the sexual assault kit. He said, yeah, it's about the size of a shoebox. It's got an envelope in it, envelopes in it, and it's got Q-tips, and it's got some extra so that he could collect like he said for that, like they would collect maybe pubic hair, and if there was just like a pubic hair on her, they would maybe take that because it was for also miscellaneous stuff. Then they would do an internal and external genital swab, and then a visual inspection to see if it looked like there was abrasions or anything like that. Did you do a fingernail swab? He said, well, the problem with Abby was that she bit her fingernails down so far that she had very short nails, so we weren't able to scrape underneath the surface of it. So
Okay, and then they couldn't cut her fingernails to get the
yeah,
to get in.
she chewed them. She chewed them. So he said, if we would get a swab and if there's hairs not necessarily attached to the pubis, that they would. He said because we would get a loose hair if there was a loose hair because we figure it could possibly be from another source if that was the case. Was there any indication of sexual injury? I didn't see abrasions or lacerations or trauma. Does that mean that there was no sexual contact? He said no. There was a 3/4 inch laceration incision longer than just a second. Longer than the incision was longer than deep.
Okay, so hers was on the left side of her neck, from
Yes.
left to right.
Mm-hmm.
They said, and it was longer than it was deep. And how long was it?
Yes. Okay, 2.5 inches.
2.5 inches on the left side of her neck.
Yeah, and they said they said, did you look for defensive wounds? And I'm going to get to that here. Did you look for defensive wounds? And he said, no. Can you kind of describe that? He said it would be putting your hands up to stop an object from hitting you, and you would be raising your hand to, or you might, move, that kind of a thing. So like if you have a knife or something like that coming after you, you might move. I think there was like a little nick somewhere, but it wasn't like nothing, like maybe on her shoulder or something. So it'd be putting your hands up. There was no blunt force trauma. He said we looked closely at the wrists for any restraint. There was a very faint, what looked to be, at first he said he thought it was like a tape mark across, not over her mouth, but kind of across right below her mouth. And he had said that it was like a there was no like he mentioned he thought at first it was from duct tape, but we didn't find tape residue. But so it looked like, he said it could have been from something being tied, like being gagged, but it didn't get in her mouth. It kind of slipped down here, and you could see where it had been tied against her,
So you
face.
see the mark, like an indentation mark, and he does testify to how close to death that mark was left there.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it was before she died. He tried to say he gave it like a potential time of death, but then he went back on his statement, his actual statement, because he says it was 40 hours from the time he received, the time he did the autopsies, from the time that they died till he did the autopsies, which was the next day. But like, yeah, 40 hours that they had been dead, from the time he got the girls till the time he did the autopsies. But then that later Baldwin said, wait a minute, you told us when you did your deposition here that you were certain, all you knew was that they were dead from the time they were last known to be seen till the time they were found. You can't even give us a time. He said that is correct. You couldn't even give us a time on that one. Hang on, I don't know why I'm not charging.
Did they refer to Abby's wound as a laceration, a puncture? Like, did he actually specify what type of wound it was?
Yes. Hang on just a second. Incised wound only would, okay, let's see. Incised wound. Yeah, hers was a laceration. I'm pretty sure. Versus what? No, it was like I think he did say laceration. Let me look. Keep looking. Yeah. Does that mean that there was no sexual contact? No. No, he said it was I think he called her neck wound a laceration.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just
And that
looking.
you could see the indentions of some type of ligature mark on her face underneath her mouth almost.
It wasn't like even indention. It was a faint line that had been left. You know, like if you have something tight enough that it left, and then it left a permanent mark probably because of her dying, and you know, like almost like bruising. So like, but it was just a faint line that went across. He said you could see. I thought he even said 2 inches wide is what he determined, because it was marks like this.
So he found no tape residue, even though he originally thought it was tape.
He mentioned he thought it was maybe duct tape.
Okay.
But then didn't. Now I didn't hear him say this, but I asked Andrew. I said, "Well, he mentioned duct tape. Yeah, he called this a laceration. By the way, I see it. I wrote him in his own words right here. I should have turned the next page. The laceration was right to left, sideways.
Right to left?
Yeah. So listen to this. It was a sideways abrasion. Okay. And he said, "How do you know that?" It was a partial transection of the left internal jugular. That's just a vein. It is a big vein. So if you guys know, you have your common carotid arteries right here. You have a common carotid artery on each side of your neck. It goes down into the internal and external on each side. So you have a common carotid artery here and here. Then it goes internal and external, and then you've got the internal jugular just on the other side of that. That is IJ, internal jugular. She had a partial transection of that. So that's the only thing that was cut on her. And so but it was a big, it was a big gaping wound there. So she bled out.
So whoever did this knew exactly where to cut and what to do.
Yeah, wait till you hear the other ones. Libby.
Okay, so hold on real quick, because I have a couple questions about Abby before we move to Libby.
He's still on Abby, but they brought up Libby too.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
He's talking about the wounds. I mean, this is a long one, but go ahead. Ask me the question.
So a couple people in chat want to know if they discussed toxicology reports.
No.
No toxicology reports.
Isn't that interesting? He didn't.
Okay, and how about it was confirmed. I don't know if anybody missed this by chance, but it was confirmed that both girls did have a rape kit performed.
Yes.
So we had discussed that the other day. So I want to make sure that gets clarified. And then any discussion about pregnancy tests?
No.
Okay, that was another question from chat. So
no. And
no toxicology discussed. And I'm surprised by that, but maybe they'll have a toxicologist that comes on. But the forensic pathologist should have been able to testify to any of that, because they're the one who writes the final report. But
yeah, and like, listen, if it's what, I'm wondering if I'm okay. I work in the medical field, and I would, I'm thinking, okay, if they did pregnancy test, do you have to? Is that something that you have to? Like when we have somebody come in the hospital for surgery, if they're childbearing age, we're going to do a pregnancy test on them, because we're not going to put them under anesthesia, and then we're going to be blamed because their baby had issues later from the gases or whatever. So we automatically do a pregnancy test. Now, they should have asked, do you automatically do a pregnancy test on children? Pregnancy test was never brought up at all. I don't know if there was one done. I just know that it wasn't brought up.
So
Okay.
Travis, who are our one of our resident attorneys in chat, is saying that if it came up negative and there was nothing on the toxicology, it may not have been anything to discuss, so nobody brought it up. That could be the same for a pregnancy type of test or anything along those lines. But in my opinion, I just would think that somebody would have brought it up to discount it, like, okay, so this is what you did in your processes, because he's going over all the processes of what he did.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't know, but I'm not an attorney. So what about stomach contents, Julie? Did they discuss the stomach contents of Abby?
No. Nope. So I'm going to go on to this part. Hopefully it doesn't get dark in here. So Libby had a transection of the, I wrote it down better, of the right common carotid artery, the left common carotid artery, and the internal jugular, the left internal jugular. So she basically, these two vessels, the carotid arteries here, you have one in the back, but that's only 10% of the blood flow to your brain. If you sever both carotid arteries, you are severing 90% blood flow to your brain. So those were both severed. And then the left internal jugular on Libby. Now we went to a break. They addressed not being able to hear. Okay, so we went to a break. We came back. She's like, sorry, you can't hear. And then I'll get back to Libby. Okay, I'm not done with her. I'm just letting you know that he was actually explaining.
They put a little bit of Libby inside the Abby testimony.
Yeah, they did. So we're gonna, because we're not even done with Abby here.
Okay.
So the trial said, okay, I have a state exhibit 223. He handed to Dr. Kaur. It was a schematic drawing of the neck vessels, which 223A is Abby, 223L Libby. Are those the schematics that you had? Yes. And the 223L is the transected vessel. Like I already told you what Abby's wounds were, and Libby's wounds. So the partial transection of the jugular, and hang on. No, I got it. I'm just double checking my wounds here. I know for sure Libby, I got it right. I just want to make sure because I have external jugular on Abby. Yeah, because the internal jugular is here, external. Okay. Well, we won't worry about those details right now. Okay, so Abby, so they showed that up on. Okay, so what they did was, when they said, do you have the diagram? Dr. Kaur came around to the big screen. On the diagram was a schematic of the vessels of the neck, so you know what's what, and he explained who had what. And then they actually showed Abby in the morgue, laying on. She had her pink shirt on. She had her clothes on. They showed her on a white sheet, and it shows her cut to the neck. I think her head was turned a little bit at the time. It was showing on the right arm. So they had the sweatshirt. They ended up taking the sweatshirt off. So what they did was they took pictures as they took the shirts off. On her right shoulder, there was a smear of blood, but they said that's what happens, like when you take off the layer of clothes. Unfortunately, if there's some pooling of blood and it got on the shirt, then you take it off and it transfers on the skin. And so I told you what she was wearing was all those clothes. She had earrings. She had earrings in, and her mouth was open. And like I told you, that gaping wound, about 2 inches or so, 2 to 2.5 inches across. Okay, so what he said was, so on this wound, on this part of the wound, so like he said that there was abrasion marks, indicating that's where the instrument, the sharp instrument, would be put there. So that's usually why you have the abrasion marks and then a clean swipe that way.
And what
He said,
direction were the wounds on Libby?
this is on Abby. I'm talking about Abby.
Abby. So okay, right to left is still.
Yeah, so it's almost like somebody if they were left-handed. But they didn't, nobody said anything about left-handed. Because we were talking about it, I said, okay, wait a minute. If there's, and I've double checked this with Andrea because they showed a picture again and you could see her head. And I'm like, wait, but I think the first picture they showed where he was showing these abrasion marks was straight on. Like if you're straight on, and he was naming what side this was. So wait till you guys, just I always say verify with Andrea because I mean, like this is her thing that she does, for a living. But this is I haven't taken notes since I was in college, so there you go.
You're doing a great job,
No,
whether it was
thank-
since college or not, which was only like 5 years ago anyway. So
right, whatever. They did say that there were some muscle, just muscle fibers that were cut across. There was a partial transection of the lateral muscle of the neck, but not much. The on the face that he talked about the 2-inch width, and it was straight. He said it was uniform. It was straight and it was uniform. It looked like somebody had tried to gag her, but it fell down below her. That's what he said. He didn't know. He said it looked like it wasn't over her mouth. It looked like maybe they wanted it over her mouth, but it was 2 inches and it went across here of her, like below her mouth. It wasn't in her mouth.
okay.
So, and that's what he said. He thought at first it was, duct tape, but he looked closer, didn't find like the residue. So her mouth wasn't covered. Now they rolled her up on her back side to show her back side. I mean, these are actually autopsy photos we're looking at. And he's explaining what we're seeing.
Jeez.
So there was liver mortis, which is, it's the dark area where your blood settles. So if you are like, if I die sitting up like this, my pressure's all on my buttocks. Well, because that pressure's on my buttocks, it does not allow blood to flow there. So that area of my buns would be white. But the area that's not obstructed by any kind of significant pressure will be that kind of purple color where the blood settles. Okay, that's liver mortis. The upper back had had liver mortis toward the right below the neck, but then obviously her shoulders, a little bit of white, and then her buttocks was white. And he said it takes usually about 8 to 9 hours for liver mortis to set in.
Okay,
And
so it doesn't show that she's killed on her back. It just shows that she was placed on her back and not moved.
yeah, and he can't, and that 8 to 9 hours, he can't say anything about it because he didn't receive them. He didn't do the autopsy. Excuse me, he didn't do the autopsies until the 15th. So
Okay.
I mean, okay. Now, and then he did finish saying that the organs are placed in a bag in the abdomen, and then they suture the scalp. The instruments would be then cleaned and everything, and then goes back to his office, writes up his report, and then he finishes it and goes on to the next one. So are you guys ready for Libby?
Yes, I think so. I think so. Nothing about stomach contents. We discussed that, right? Nothing about stomach contents.
If he said anything about stomach contents, I mean, all of us were probably we're like, we can't hear him. I mean, he was literally I like to try to write down, pretty much the gist of everything. It was like almost futile sometimes. I wrote down as much as I possibly could get because he was. But when he did have to get up to the he used his outdoor voice or whatever they call him. Use your grown-up voice. No, his outdoor voice, or the louder voice he did.
Well, before we move on to Libby, then too, when they showed you her backside, dirt, debris, anything along those lines on her backside.
Yes.
And if so, where? Upper body, lower body,
more
the whole
like,
body.
It just looked kind of splotchy, like random, like debris. It wasn't as bad as Libby's.
Okay, but you thought what you did see dirt on Abby's? Did they discuss that there was dirt on the backside of Abby? to like show that she actually had no that she did have no clothes on, but was laying on the ground with no clothes on at some point. That's kind of what the mainstream media had put out. So I'm trying to just clarify that.
That's what it looked like to me. There was like some mud and a little bit, but you know, Libby's the other day, Monday, the traumatic day or whatever day it was, I can't even remember. That day, there was a lot of mud on her. I mean, clearly because she's laying in the mud too, but she was. I want to. Can we go on to Libby, because I want to.
Yes, do it.
And remind me to bring something up if I don't bring it up about something I saw the other day, and it just struck me. Now Libby's is really interesting. Okay, I mean, it's kind of, there's some things that we're puzzled by. Okay, so Libby, he measured her, so he measures them, weighs them. She's 64 inches, that's 5'4", and 200 pounds. They did conduct a sexual assault kit. He did not see anything visible from his naked eye of her exam for her privates. There were swabs. He said, I guess there was a breast swab that was put into her sexual assault kit. He said sometimes they have some tests for miscellaneous, and he said that could be because they had a miscellaneous items, and decided to do that at that moment. There was a swab for her breast. I don't know why. Were there any defensive wounds or restraint wounds? No, not that he could see. She had blood all over her hands. No, as far as I'm pretty sure the answer is no. He said at least 4 or 5 possible wounds on her. 2 of them were like connected or overlapping, and what he's talking about is on her neck. Okay, so they show Libby. She's on a white sheet. They block out her privates and everything. She's nude. And they said that. Another thing on Libby, her hands were wrapped in looked like brown paper bag, and then taped just like with regular masking tape.
Yes.
Like, and they were wrapped, and that was to preserve, because
that's done by the CSI. That's done by the people, or the people who are taking it. That's not done by the criminal. Just FYI. Right. Yeah, that's done for forensics.
Yeah,
to preserve the DNA on her hands.
Exactly. So that's why. They had that. So he showed these areas, and she had literally. There was 3 areas on her neck. It was like here, they seemed to go more vertical. They were here, big round one. They were big here and here. Now there were 2 that he showed that looked like they're almost like a little skin, almost like a skin tag, a flap, and those typically occur if another pass of the instrument is used. Like it's like they cut again. Like he said at the end here, he said potentially 4 different knives or cuts could have been used. Like 4 different passes of cuts. We'll get to that in a minute because I want to clarify that. So with those wounds, that's what he said. What you can tell at a wound has a little flap, so it's not a clean cut. It's like there was 2, almost as though they took a pass and they came back and took another pass. So that's why he said there was 4 to 5. It looks like 3 big ones, but there's
secondary ones on top of the original ones.
Yes.
So a little bit of overkill.
And also there were these red marks by one of the wounds, and they seem to be like vertical, like up. If you were, I mean, literally, let me see if I can draw. Let me see. Wait, let me just try to do this real quick. So by one of the wounds, they were almost look like contusions, and there was like 4 or 5 of these marks. They were just like, can you see that?
Right above, is that above the left side, the right side, in the middle?
I think it was the left side, if I recall.
And it's above the lacerations.
Yes. Is that what you heard? Is that what
Yeah.
your news was reporting? Yeah. And so they were trying to determine what these were from, because he said at first he thought it was like from the handle, or like a serrated edge, that he thought it would be from the handle, like somehow. But here's the thing: is how do you get vertical lines? I said, you know what I was telling Andrew?
Go from the other direction.
Huh?
Go the other direction with your hand, and put, like, if you have like a.
You like this?
Yeah. No, here. Let me try my. Let me bring myself. I had you up so people could see your explanation. Let me bring myself back up here.
Yeah.
If you take the weapon and go this way, so that your hand is on top of it, like that, versus like this way, where your hand would be on the bottom. If you're going this way, your hand's on top. Whatever pressure you're putting on the top of it
might be caused from the handle.
It depends on what they're using as the weapon. I mean, I'm just saying, like, the only way to get anything on the top would be you're not going to get it if you're going this, and you're not going to get it going with your hand underneath it. You know what I mean?
But the angle of those cuts were like, they were vertical. So
or just a jagged instrument that I don't know. I mean, I'm not the pathologist, so keep telling us what he said, because he's going to know more than I am.
Okay, let me see. I might have to turn my car on to get me some light in here. Let me know if does that cause you any problem?
No, okay. Doesn't have anything here.
Okay. So, he said, so, like, for instance, if a victim is conscious, and they're getting hurt, they're getting stabbed or whatever, he said the victim would be more trying to be getting out of the way. And as you draw your body away, if they go to make a stab you, or laceration, you move the body, it would be almost like the knife or whatever's in you would be like a twisting, and it makes an L-shaped wound. He said, like, so if you have your fingers and you go to stab, and when they move, it kind of twists and makes an L-shaped wound when people try to move out of the way. So he was describing why her lacerations looked like almost like a skin tag on a couple of them.
Okay.
And he said that would, that might explain that. He didn't have an explanation for those vertical wounds, except he said it could be from like a serrated edge. It could have been made with like some serrated edge or the handle of it. What I found interesting is he said something about, he said, well, and after, he thought about it, and he said, as time went on, he was at home and he had a box cutter sitting on his.
He randomly decided it was going to be a box cutter, nothing to do with the state's suggestion of, hey, can you look and see if it could have been a box cutter, because that's what Richard Allen's confessing to, supposedly. Oh shit, we lost you, Julie. I'll ask this too, Scout. I'll make sure that we go over if there's any other wounds on her, but from my understanding, it's only the neck. This part, and so until she can pop back in here, this part we did hear from mainstream media that he does start to suggest that it's possibly from the handle of a box cutter, that those 4 wounds that are going upright, that like it's the handle of the weapon, and now in 2024, he's now looking in his garage to see if it could have been a box cutter. Baldwin will come back on cross and make sure to say, hey, we did your depo back in, I think it was February. Don't quote me on that date. But we did your depo, and you didn't mention anything about anything about a box cutter. So, like, why are you randomly starting with a box cutter now? Julie, it's not reconnecting you. So let me kick you real quick, and then you'll have to probably rejoin it. So, and I'm also going to ask about directionality to see about which, you know, if they were able to tell the directionality of the wounds on her neck, which is approximately 3 to 5. You see, there's 3 obvious wounds, but there's a couple that they believe were inflicted on top of the other wounds. So, and then about if what they could tell about whether the wounds were anti or perimortem, like post-mortem, perimortem. We'll see if they discussed that at all. And they tell whether the cuts, there she is. Hey. Can you hear me okay?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Hi. Sorry about that.
Hi.
Now my sister, okay. If anybody has any idea, how do I make it for do not, how do I do not, I put do not disturb, but people keep interrupting. Do I have to put it on sleep mode?
I don't know. Somebody in chat said do not disturb, but I have no idea, but that's because I know you already did it on do not disturb. So
yeah, my phone's crackling. Yeah. So anyhow, he said it may be associated with the handle of the blade that made those abrasions. Okay. So now Luttrell says, okay, you were deposed on February, in February of 20. Oh no, you were deposed 2024, correct? Yes. What do you recall your report stated? Specifically, I used the word serrated edge. On page 3 on the autopsy report, use the word serrated. It's not a typical or classical serration, but serrated like. Did you state what part of the knife could leave that type of, or what kind of knife, what part of the knife could leave that wound? One with a wooden handle, plastic handle, or one thing I thought about is a box cutter. Okay. He said it has a plastic one and that has a thumb grip to prevent slippage out of the hand. He said it could be a box cutter or something. Yeah, he magically came up with that after there wasn't there the hearing when they brought that out about the box cutter. Is that when it was?
Yeah, at the hearing when they said that his confession supposedly is about a box cutter. Young Black Economist says, go to your settings, do not disturb, and uncheck the box for allowing calls to come through.
Oh, okay. I promise I'll do that.
You're fine. Okay, so a couple questions real quick before we keep going. Do they discuss anything about whether the wounds inflicted on Libby were before death or after death?
The wounds, it sounds to me, okay, so it sounded to me like the wounds were inflicted before death, and she might have been doing this. That's kind of the impression I got to stop her wounds, because that's the next thing they're talking about. Like how does someone typically respond? What happens? And and the thing is with Abby, her fingers, now I don't know if she's washed or whatever, her fingers are perfect, clean as can be. The hoodie pulled up over them. Nothing wrong. I mean, no blood, nothing on her hands at all. Mm-hmm. But Libby had a ton of blood under her fingernails, almost as though she might have, tried to put pressure. You hold pressure to stop the bleeding.
Then I have to add I have a follow-up question with that. If she's reaching her hands to her neck, are there wounds on her hands? Because you have 3 to 5 cuts on her neck.
Yeah, no.
At one point, her hand would have been there.
It just tells me, I mean, they didn't say that she reached up to her neck, but this is what we were guessing. Why was all that blood on her neck? Probably because as she was dying, was she trying to stop? We don't know. I mean, that's just speculation on the part of Andrea and I. On Abby's wound, so they go to Abby's wound. They said, okay, so Abby, when she received that wound, what's the normal physiologic normal response? He said, well, she'd feel pain from the sharp instrument from going through her skin. You go into a fight or flight response as an autonomic response. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. When there's a venous injury, you're bleeding. You have, in her case, she had passive blood flow. It wasn't like the it wasn't an artery that's pressurized, but it's passive blood flow where she starts bleeding out. It does take some time to lose enough blood volume that way, but I think he even gave an estimate. So after losing blood, then your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes down, and you go into a state of shock. And then in response to that low blood pressure, the blood vessels attempt to constrict. You're not getting blood flow to your brain. You lose consciousness, and then you lose, and if you're sitting still, obviously it takes longer to bleed out. If you're up, standing, and moving around, stumbling around, he said, then you're gonna bleed out quicker. I think they even asked with the jugular. I thought he said like 10 that you could. I won't even attempt to say how long you could bleed out because I didn't get that part right. I mean, I didn't hear for sure. So Libby's wounds her body would react, her increased respiratory rate. She'd start losing blood, go into state of shock, and then eventually until she would die. There was no blood flow, lack of oxygen, and then die. Did you observe blood on Libby's hand? Yes. Now I'm talking about Libby. Okay, I said Libby's. Okay, Libby's.
Are we
wounds
still on direct or are we on cross?
We're still. We are still on direct. We're still on direct. We're almost there. So we're going to Libby. So basically the same thing he said happened with Libby. Your body reacts, increased respiratory rate, your blood is, with her blood would be under pressure, losing, and she could bleed out in, 10 minutes. He did say that. So did you observe blood on the left hand? Yes. He said, Hi,
Sleuthy.
Hello.
And he said it could be an attempt to stop the bleeding by applying pressure. Let me see something. That one I was having a hard time hearing him. It said, so you found evidence of cerebral edema in Libby? Yes. Normally, a person's brain is 1,500 grams. Anything over 1,600 grams, there's edema. She ended up with some mild edema. So as your brain swells, it gets squished. You have these hills and valleys, and as it swells, these hills become flattened and these valleys become squished, and then the pressure of your brain is pushed against the skull. Hi, Sleuthy. I didn't mean to be rude.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Then the head then head. He said what can cause this? Well, head injuries can cause this edema, or lack of oxygen to the brain, oxygen in circulation.
Would the wounds have caused that then, because of the lack of oxygen in circulation?
Yeah, potentially, yes. I mean, that's it. They didn't ask if the wounds did, but to me, like if your lack of oxygen and you cut 90% of your blood flow with oxygen to your brain, I would say that's a kind of a given. Okay, and then it said, were you able to determine the precision time of death? He said no. He just said Abby, and then he went back to Abby. He said, well, both of they died like probably 41 hours prior to the autopsy. So
he died what? She died what?
41 hours prior to autopsy.
That is absurd, but
yeah.
You can't say you don't know the time of death and then say it was 41 hours from the time of autopsy.
Well, he goes back and changes. He doesn't know the time of death.
That's more reasonable.
So then Brad Rosie says, so he's cross-examining now. He said, you testified, in Indiana, Illinois, and you testified, all these places you testified. You testified 98% on behalf of the state. He said, yes. He said, well, in February 27th, 2024, do you remember that deposition we had right over there in the trial room? Yes. You took an oath before you took the deposition. Yes. And you've done this many times. You've testified many times. Yes, hundreds. And he said, so we questioned you for a couple of hours, and he said you reviewed your report before. We offered you to review your report, and you did, and you waived changing your report. Yes. For Abby Williams, he said, you didn't reference any time of death, did you? He says, correct. So you don't know when she died? No, correct. And then he said she just died between the last time that she was seen alive till the time she was found dead, correct? He said, correct. So you don't know. He goes, well, estimating time of death is very difficult. Or they asked, it's difficult? And he agreed, yes. So did you see the crime scene photo? You didn't see the crime scene photos until earlier this year? That's correct. And you came.
The pathologist never saw the crime scene photos?
Right, until earlier this year. Correct.
That's shocking. He wouldn't see them back when it happened, when he was doing it.
And so you had no conclusion as to the time of death, right?
When did he change his report?
He didn't change it.
Oh, he did not change it. Okay.
He didn't change it. He just went back on his statement on the stand saying, well, yeah, okay, yeah, according to what I told you guys, that's correct. That's correct. So then Rosie said, so, and you couldn't tell what type of instrument. You told us it was a sharp blade instrument. He goes, yeah, it was a sharp blade instrument, like kind of like a scalpel type. So you couldn't say anything about the type. He said, yes. He said, it was in conclusion, it was like a knife product or a kitchen knife, the kitchen knife, like a serrated edge or whatever. He said, but you didn't say anything about a box cutter. Correct. And he said, also, you said in no way to tell about the injuries of let's see, something hand on the left hand, injuries on the left hand. What? Oh, no way to tell injuries, knowing what the injuries of Libby and Abby. I'm sorry, can't see that one very well. So he was talking about differentiating between a vein and an artery. He says, so tell us about that. Of course, the vein bleeds slower. The artery is faster because it pumps out because it's under pressure. He said, is that correct? Yes. So you said 4 to 6 to 10 minutes, you could bleed out. Yes. She may have been able to fight back. Yes. Was there anything wrong with her trachea? Like with Abby's trachea? No. So there would be no reason why she couldn't make noise or scream because she had that cut and she's, bleeding out slowly, that she wouldn't be able to make noise due to her injuries. He said, no reason. No, I mean, there wouldn't be known reason. He said, okay, you said there was a mark below her mouth. Was it restricting her breathing? No. Do you think the mark was created by?
How do they know that? Because how do they know it's not covering her mouth?
He said it was like a 2-inch.
But how do we know that's not the bottom of whatever was put there versus the top of whatever's put there?
That's right. I don't know. He didn't have an explanation for that
Okay.
What that was. He said someone may have placed something over her mouth, and then he said that's all he could think of. There might have been something that was placed over her mouth, but it wasn't over her mouth. There was no trauma to the sex organs. Not aware of any sexual activity before death. He said, as Libby, you can't tell if the right or left. Oh, he said, now you can't. This is what he was asking. I'm sorry. You can't tell if the person is right-handed or left-handed, and you didn't state that. Correct. So Libby's injuries, you said, were from a serrated edge. He said there was 9 millimeter serrated along the wound. You said possible 2, possible 3, possible 4, and different instruments could have been used. Yes. So there's only one wound with that marking that has those 3 markings. Yes. Okay. So as far as cerebral edema, there was swelling of the brain, helps determine, it says that when the oxygen's cut off to the brain. In Libby's case, it was mild. Her death, they said it didn't think like the death was instantaneous. It said it could be 3, 10, up to 20 minutes. The injury could cause projection of blood up to 6 feet. There was some debris on her legs taken. There was debris on her legs taken from another place. Oh, debris on her legs indicating that she could be taken from another place or dragged, is what they were saying. One of the things on the back of her body, this is what I wanted to say about her, is when they turned her over on Monday, to me, it looked like she had not just like contusions, and not this. I'm sure she had liver mortis. Is that right? Liver
mortis.
liver. Okay, mortis.
Yeah, liver mortis.
Okay, liver mortis. It looked to me like she had almost, and I don't want anybody's minds to think I'm trying to say she was dragged on the road. But if you took somebody and you held them by the leg and the arm and you dragged them across the cement, it looked like because there were those kind of that type of
Like road rash?
yeah, like road rash. That's what the back of it looked like, road rash. It was very even. It wasn't just like a little thing here or there, or like a little poke here or there that it looked like she had road rash. There's like an even pattern. It was an even pattern across her whole backside. Plus there was all this mud and debris all over, and little tiny little puncture wounds and that sort of thing. Okay, so then Rosie's asking, so the girls were laying on a white sheet. And he said, tell me about that white sheet. He goes, well, there's a white sheet that's in the body bag. And he goes, well, it's not always we don't always have the white sheet. It's not that common. It just depends on your budget. If you have a higher budget, you then get those sheets. He said, well, do those sheets ever get reused? He said, sometimes. He said, but he said, so what happens? He said, well, but they are washed. He said, and they're taken to the hospital and they're sterilized at the hospital. I work at the hospital. Do you know how many times we get sheets out? I mean, I've gone in like, I do 24-hour shifts, so I make my own bed, and I'll go get a sheet from the area that's supposed to have been cleaned and everything. They're supposed to have gone through the sterilizer. There is still tape on them. There's all kinds of different things. Like, I'll have a jacket that goes through the sterilizer, and I'll reach in my pocket, and there was an old balled up used Kleenex that went through the washer. There's people's stuff that accumulates between, and this stuff is washed and sterilized, and this stuff it's supposed to be through the hospital sterilizer. So I don't know. So let's see. He talked about he goes, let's go back to the serrated marks. After your deposition, you went back to Terre Haute. Yes. So so tell us about that. He said you were unsettled as to the serrated marks. He said you went home and thought that they weren't classic marks. He said, I went home and thought they weren't classic marks. And I thought, well, what would cause those marks? He said, after he talked after the deposition with the defense, he's thinking about this. Or that's what he's saying. Did you take let me see something. Did you take to pee any of those times? Oh, did you talk to the prosecution? Did you ever talk?
Yeah.
Did you ever talk to the prosecution after you talked to us and you came up with the box cutter? He goes, oh yes, several times. And
he did talk to the prosecution about a box cutter several times.
I knew it.
He goes, but you don't know it was a box cutter. No. He said, so in your mind, should you have talked to us or told us You talked to the prosecution, but you didn't say anything to us about a box cutter. Don't you think we maybe should have, changed that? Or you should have talked to us about it. Would it have been helpful to talk to us about it? Yes, but you don't know it was a box cutter. No. He said, so there are several different types of I think he said box cutters or knives or something. How many times have you changed your mind before testifying? He said, I'd say maybe 10% of the time. He said, in this case, he said, there's a lot of notoriety in this case, and you knew how big this case was. He said, you even met with a reporter. Yes. Do you think it would have been a good idea to generate a report and say, well, it's all about this if you were changing your mind? He goes, well, I wasn't changing my mind. It's all speculation about a box cutter. So he said that. He said
It's all speculation about a box cutter.
Dr. Core did.
I think Nick told him that was something that was said,
Mm-hmm.
and that put it in his head that might have been the cause of it.
Man, I want.
So did they talk about the depth, width of Libby's wounds? That's my number one question.
Yeah, they did. I got 2 and then 2.5. I have 2 down and 2.5, like 2 inches deep and 2.5 wide, something like that. Does that
But
sound right?
she had 3 to 5 wounds. So do they go through each wound separately, or?
Yeah, they showed each wound. They showed just the different identifying marks. Wait, no, I'm thinking of Abby's 2 to 2.5. Sorry. I don't think they gave us measurements for all of Libby's wounds. Now to come to think of it, they gave us Abby's. Wait, 5 centimeters external exam. No, that's Abby's. Wait a second, you guys. If you can hold on just a second, because 4 or 5 wounds, 2 passes. Because I was trying to write all the measurements and stuff down. I don't. They just showed us how many wounds there were. And I always say, let's see if Andrea has Libby's wound sizes.
Okay. And then another question from chat is, did they talk about the blood that was found on Libby's hands? And was it tested and confirmed that it was all Libby's blood? Has anybody testified to that, or did the doctor testify to that?
No. If he did, we couldn't hear it. So maybe somebody close heard it. They were talking about what's the minimum number of wounds needed to cause death? 1. Then they said, there was one other abrasion that was to the left side of the wound. That might have been something, a note that I was making. Let me see if I can. Now, I can't give you a real detailed because I got to do a 24-hour shift. I still have an hour and 15 minutes to drive, but I'm going to I could go over briefly with the next one was Christopher Cecil, ISP. You wanted to kind of do that? Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. So I'm going to take Kaylee to gymnastics. Sleuthie's going to take over the channel.
Okay.
I'll be in the back so that I can, in case you do have to drop out, that I can add you back, because Sleuthie won't be able to do that. But yeah, if you want to run through Cecil's, I just want to make sure that if there's any other big questions for the autopsies before. Scout asked, is that transection wound part of the embalming, or were they talking about a transection wound? Okay.
No, transection of the common carotids, and then the left internal jugular for Libby.
The sleuth has been activated.
I'm just going to listen.
Well, you'll probably.
Where'd she go?
She drops out every once in a while. So, yeah, that's why I said I'll be in the back. So I'll kick her because she has to rejoin. That means somebody's calling her. But you'll have the chat to entertain you too if she does drop, and then I'll be in the back to add her back in. So I think, as far as I know, and maybe Sleuthie, have you heard? I think Cecil's the last witness of the day. Now Sleuthie's dropping in and out.
You talking about Cecil?
Yeah, is he the last witness of the day?
Hi
guys,
so,
sorry.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm
That's
getting.
okay.
Julie, Cecil, the last person today?
Yes.
Okay.
Did they finish his testimony today?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, good.
Oh man, this one was so interesting.
Okay, I'll be back. You guys
Okay.
got this under control. Scout wanted to know if the wound is commonly used in the embalming process. Oh, I see what you're saying.
No, what like these wounds here are all like from the wounds she sustained during.
But what do you know from your medical experience if that would have been a type of cut that would have been done in the embalming process? Like I think the insinuation being something along the lines of, does this person know those types of processes?
No, but see, she's.
Can you give?
But
I
the girls
don't know
are
how
at
to do that with those headphones. How do I do that?
the girls are at the pathologist before they go to go get embalmed. So this is all the wound. These are the girls as as the pathologist receive them to assess the wounds, to do the pathology. So like the embalming stuff is later. And no.
Yeah, but I think the question would be, do you know if that type of cut would be used in the embalming process? Not that this one is from that, but do you know anything about the
I
embalming
think
process?
they're suspecting someone who knows about embalming processes.
Right.
That's the point.
Oh, I gotcha. No,
I
I
do
can't
not know
answer
about
that. I'm
embalming.
sorry, I can't answer that. But I guess I could find out because I got two family members that are funeral
You
directors.
should. You should ask, Julie.
Okay, I will. I will ask about that. So I'm gonna. This one's kind of a long one, but I've got about 15 minutes, so I can go through this here. So Christopher Cecil, ISP, his rank is first sergeant. He's been in law enforcement for 20 years. He's commander of ICAC task force. The state. Okay, and we have Nick McClellan is doing the exam. Talking to him. They have exhibit 224. It's basically just his credentials. It's his CV. He graduated with computer forensics, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. They asked how he got involved. Okay. He was asked to, he got involved. I think it was because there was just a second. I'm just trying to go through my notes and skip over some of this other stuff. Employed, he got involved, he acquired new equipment. Okay, so he got involved with this because ISP had acquired new equipment called Gray Key, which allowed them to unlock like an Apple phone and obtain important information to get it off the device. And they could get it's normally, I guess, encrypted. So this would allow ISP to get more information. So it says CC. They wanted him to do a full extraction of using this process called Gray Key. It extracts and pulls off contents of a deleted or active data system, and it was something new that they had. Let me see something. You can get raw data extracted. Just a second. Let me see. And it extracts it into more readable form. Gray Key gets information out of the phone, but that's not readable. Then that plugs into a program to make it readable, and then it goes through the data. There's different databases, and then it separates it out and puts it into a various log. Blah 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 blah. So you guys probably know about that. Gray Key. Also, he said that it's kind of like they use it with another program like Celebrite or Magnet. He said you have just one doesn't work. You have to have both. No, just one alone. Like you can't just use Celebrite. You have to use like Gray Key with like Celebrite or with another like Magnet. That's just another data process. So he looked into this case February 13th, 2017. He was told about the girls on the trail that Libby recorded a man of her abduction on the Monon High Bridge. And he was trying to establish a chronological timeline with her phone and what was going on behind the scenes on her phone. He said, did you generate a report? I did. The report is on State Exhibit 225. This is the first report I finished on August 21st, 2019. And they admit to Exhibit 222 to the jury. Before you testified in court today, you had a chance to review this report, right? Did you make any notes or highlights, about this on the screen? And he did have, I think there was a couple things that he did make a note of that got switched, like he transposed a number, like a time or something on there. And he made a notation. So he said the cybercrime and ISP, we usually put like the cybercrime number, the ISP number, and the date of exam, like when they're going to examine data. So in this one, they put up on the screen a stock photo. It was an iPhone, what was it, 6? Gosh, I thought I wrote it down. You guys know it, don't you?
6S, I think.
Yes, yeah, 6S. It was space gray, so they put a stock photo up there. So he described the extraction from Libby German's phone and the SIM card, and the contents. On page 8 of his little report has the user account information. It told me at least 2 people on the user account were using her phone. And then he said, who was that? He said from the data that they had was Liberty German and Abigail Williams. He said most of the account attributed to both of those girls. On page 9, there's some biometrics data. So it's like Touch ID. So that's what that Libby was using, was the Touch ID. And also on page 9 is some Apple Health application.
So that's fingerprints. I'm pretty sure the Touch ID.
This what?
The fingerprints. The Touch ID was fingerprints.
Yes. Okay. So it says is the Apple Health information. There's the Apple Health application. I'm sorry. It says the aggregate Apple information from. Let me see something. Is it always on? Yes. Is that right? Yeah. So it documents about the Apple Health, the walking distance, elevation, user steps, that kind of thing. What did you determine in the health data? He said that, well, the steps walked, changes in elevation, you calculate steps that accumulate, blah, blah, blah. So what did you find in the health data? He said like there was 1,408.48 number of steps walked with the phone. The time to start, it got it when it started and stopped walking. It was like 13:31:40. There was like 6,082 steps. And then at 14, which is 2:08, sorry, he gave us military time of the steps. So it was like 2:32, I think, was the last. He said, okay, so at 2:31, the change of elevation, there was 2 floors. 2:32 was last movement of the phone.
Okay.
If the phone moved after that, would you know it moved? He said, yes, because of the accelerometer and whatever that other thing is, whatever. There's some other fancy name he used, I couldn't tell. So if the phone moves, the Apple Health data tracks it. He said, like if you bounce and move it, it could potentially track it as a step. He said with the knowledge C that they had, what it does is it shows logging activity of the phone. Okay, like when the phone lights up or down, or if it's unlocked. So like, when you touch it and it lights up. In 2019, they did the knowledge C. 2019, the knowledge C became available, is what he said. When were you aware of the knowledge C? He says 2019. So before 2019, the knowledge, basically the community, the tech community, they weren't aware of it. I guess it was available. They just weren't aware of it. And he said, is knowledge C good, equipment? Is it key equipment to have? Wouldn't it have been, it's equipment to have for the first time you examine the phone. basically it says, what do you do with it? You pull out more reliable process so that he could get more from the phone than before. So the next time line of Libby German's phone was on February 13th. I have 1:38:49. So they were telling it in seconds. The phone. Oh, they can tell if the phone. I don't know why I have that time not down. I'm sorry. I can't even tell you why I have that. It just tells you so that what they can determine is if the phone, there's any phone calls, the phone's charged, or if it's even plugged in. You can see where the Snapchat was used in a photo on Snapchat. It also shows the battery life. So on February 14th at 1:49, what's the phone doing? There is, or 1:44. Is that right? 1:40. I'm having a hard time seeing that. There's a picture posted on Snapchat. Is this part of the phone within that part of the Snapchat app? Yes. Correct me if you guys, like if the media is told something, if you can fill in the blanks, because I'm trying to go by these notes and it's getting dark in here. There's another photo of on Snapchat, Libby with the tie-dye, red shirt, Abby has a seatbelt on. So they got that from Knowledge. See, they have that. It's where they were on their way, I think, to the trail. Libby's in the front seat, Abby's behind, and they took that picture. And then at 2:05, 10 p.m., another Snapchat photo found. They found a picture of the Monon High Bridge. At 2:07:20, there was the last time the phone was unlocked. What was it? He said it was the video that was recorded. So you notice he doesn't mention the Abby photo on that one. He says a 43-second video of Abby on the bridge. He says what happens. He said at 2:14, it said 2:14:41, someone tries to unlock the phone and it doesn't unlock. And then it said at that time, when he generated this report, at 10:42 p.m., he generated a report that said that the phone battery appeared to be, it was depleting. It was likely depleting is what his report was then. So he filled out this mobile worksheet. Once the report was generated, it provides a report to the investigators. Then that was in 2019. But he said as time goes by, there's new programs that come out and they can extract more data from devices. So in 2019, they used Cellbrite and Magnet. 2019 through 2024, we got systems updated regarding programs. And basically, it's that it can extract more data using, it said, did you perform a new exam on the phone? He said, no, I just processed what we had already examined, and they can pull more out of that. It said, were you aware Lieutenant Bunner processed it in 2017? Yes. Did you compare that data? He says, no, I just took the first extraction method I used to help write it, and I generated a second report to help to write so I've generated a second report and used that information. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this and try to think at the same time, but I can't do it. It sounds like he used the information he already had to generate this second report, and that the information was from Bunner, I guess, originally. Let me see, was that information?
Yeah,
That
it would have.
information. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it would have been from Bunner. He was the only other one that did it before him.
Yeah, so that's what they were talking about here. And he said they didn't collect any more data. And then on May 10th of 2024 to August 18th, 2024, there was another extraction, Cellbrite Magnet. I did research. I went into Apple to see what the Apple would publicly provide. Exhibit 227, August 18th, 2022. There was a second report that they published that. It just identified mistakes that he made, misprints that he made in there. So he went and he corrected it. He was talking about how he corrected it on the screen. He said he accidentally said that Apple had the passcode, and that law enforcement didn't have access, but they did. I guess law enforcement got access, but he generated a report that say that they couldn't get into it. Cellbrite had they said Cellbrite had the passcode, but actually the ISP had it. He said the last activity shown was like 10:36 p.m. at 2:13. He said you talked about knowledge of providing the knowledge C of providing further information. He said on page 4, what does this explain? Using knowledge C, it just the events they track. More information shows the more information that can be stored for a few weeks. God, I don't even remember what he was saying here. I'm sorry. It's been a long, long day. I've had no food. I've had like barely anything to drink. He said it had pictures from the camera roll. Pictures and video are not stored in Knowledge C, but Knowledge C tracks the camera. Wait, it says that camera was used. God, nope, I can't see. A picture of the video in a command rate. Here, I gotta skip past that because I think I might have been nodding off at one point here. Page 7 of the report is the health app, and they talked about the steps. And he didn't know what the flight of stairs. He later did document that. I think I should be coming up here to have it. Let's see. Does the health app give location data? I didn't. Does it? Does the health app give location data? It doesn't, does it? It just tells it how many steps, right?
Yeah, I don't. Well, I don't want to say no because I don't know if like if it's pinging, if it's working. Like I feel like GPS would track it, but I don't feel confident other than just knowing that it does steps and distance.
What he did say is that he said the user of the phone must manually turn on to register the longitude and latitude.
And when was that?
Well, he was saying when they he was just asking questions like if you're going to track in order to track you, it can track a latitude and a longitude. He said, okay, so on this, on Libby's phone, she had the app. You know how you can put location services on? She had location services for the App Store, the camera, is it Goodrich? Good. Is it Goodyear or something like that? I thought it said Goodrich. It's a Snapchat, and then never enable for Walmart, and always enable for the health. I got that one. Where's that other one? I can't read it. I need a little more light on here. So it utilizes cell tower or Wi-Fi for that. How accurate is it GPS for the location? He said because what they showed was there was a ping. You know how there was a ping. The reason they were asking this is because the ping that was at the Delphi High School. What happens is when she first does the video, it connects to the tower just briefly at the Delphi High School, and the longer that you have the video on, the more it hones in on. It takes a lot of energy from the phone, but it hones in more of an exact location. So the reason that it pinged at that tower was initially it's pinging off this tower, just kind of the general area. It uses cell tower, and then as it hones in, I guess it gives a little more specific. So that's the initial thing. I think it does it for the battery thing or something. I don't know. Somebody else in the chat will know that. Page
I
11, there's
wonder. I thought, Bunner, Brunner.
Bunner.
Yeah, I didn't he. Wasn't he saying that this GPS data for the video was at like Memorial Park?
I didn't
The
hear
reason I
that.
ask is because his and what Cecil is now saying, which is what he said back in the 3-day hearings, is that it started at the high school and then ended up like at the bridge or whatever. But they're in two totally different directions.
Yeah, I didn't hear that other place, but he specifically said the Delphi High School because he said that the camera's using low accuracy, so there's not just, and the camera does that initially when you start the video, so there's not, so that it saves on your battery. That's how this is designed. So then the video captures the cell tower and it triangulates where it's from, where it is, and then it uses the satellites for accuracy as to where it actually is.
Okay.
He said there's no range of accuracy when it starts, but after about 4 seconds, it gets to, pretty accurate with the location. I don't even think he said that the distance. So viewed on video matches. Oh, he said, when you look at the video, you see that it matches the latitude and longitude. That the video where they did the video on the bridge, that latitude and longitude was on there where you found it, right? Yes. They're just basically saying that even though it's not real precise, the general location, you see them on the bridge, the latitude and longitude matched up. Did you examine the Snapchat application? Yes. And its data catalogs someone using the Snapchat on the phone. Libby had it the location data. And the Snapchat was turned on, yes. I don't know why it said I have 5M circle. I don't know what that is. Okay.
Maybe 5 meter or 5
So,
miles.
yeah, circle. It says, okay, it would run. Okay, so is this, okay. Did Libby have the location on the Snapchat? Location, how you can turn it on? She had her location on Snapchat. But it's not always on, because if it's always on, it's only on when you're using the application. When you turn it on, otherwise it would run your battery down. You would lose power. So it lost.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because if you're sharing your location on Snapchat, if
But
you
you have.
close the app, people could still see you on the map.
I wonder. Remember Snapchat location? I don't know what they did with it, but didn't that, like, as of June of 2017, there was a change in that whole thing? Was that? Because I thought that, I actually thought back in the day when I was in this, that they said that the geolocation wasn't a thing, like wasn't even a thing. They didn't say this in court, but I remember we were looking into it and they said June of 2017 is when they started this geolocation. That might be a good something for people to look at, to see when did they start using that location, on in the Snapchat.
Yeah, because like if she was able to turn it on, then it had to have been an option. Like it had to have been an option. You go ahead, because I know you have
Okay.
some.
Okay. It says in the second report, the battery gets to 20% and it'll alert you to put on. Okay. So basically, that's what he says. He's talking about the battery. It gets to 20%. It'll alert you to put in the low power mode. And then the 10%, it'll notify you, hey, you're getting ready to lose your power. Anything you do will be slow to open. So if you have a low battery, if you open up any apps, sometimes the apps won't refresh because your phone's trying to conserve the battery. It'll affect all the stuff in your phone, like your pictures, your health app tracking with new analysis. The phone stayed on until 4:33 in the morning. And the phone received a bunch of SMS messages at 4:30, 4:33 or whatever, 4:30 on the phone. And they said the phone has to be on to receive that. So from the time the movement stopped to the time the messages were tracked, from time movement stop to time messages was Any, I can't read that. Is there any something tracked on the phone? He said no. Any movement, I think tracked on the phone. No. So the timeline events is like 2:33 p.m. February 13th. I think there was screen up and down, battery power. He's had some FaceTime calls that went in, SMS messages, and then February 13th, 4:06 received an SMS message from Becky Patty, and it said, "You need to call me now," with 4 exclamation points.
That's interesting. Or did you know? Do you know if Becky had an iPhone also at that time?
Well, I don't know.
I just
I
wonder why it
don't.
went through as SMS. That's
Yeah,
all.
SMS, and they did try to determine. They tried to tell you what SMS versus iMessage, because so an iMessage is like if we all have the Apple phone, we do iMessage, but like from what is it from your phone? Like if you have you Android to an Apple or whatever, it's a
SMS.
yeah, SMS, yeah.
And
And,
but also like with Apple phones, if you don't have any service, like so if I'm up in the woods, if I'm on the mountain and I don't have cell phone service, but I connect to Wi-Fi, I might not be able to make phone calls or send regular text messages or receive them, but I can use my iMessages. It'll go through.
yes, that's right. So then he said, the database. So there was some other database. They said like, they said, in other words, like if Becky's listed, if it shows that, whoever contacted you, like Sleuthy contacted Julie, then I probably have your name in my phone. They just wanted to clarify that. Yes, there were several messages that came in at 4:33 all at one time. Based on this data, why do you think that happened? He says, I don't know. Says go to page 25 of your report. February 14th, 4:33 is the last activity you see. Yes. What happens after that? He said after that, on 2:15, the iPhone powers up at 3:06 p.m. on February 15th at 3:06 p.m. That had to
Who's
be
that?
that's when the investigator, whoever it was powering it up. So look, they didn't talk about it going dead though, because if they're what he's trying to say is he went back in his report, because he had several different reports. They got report 1, report 2, blah blah blah. He changed it because they account for this as having the technology, so now they can go back on the report. I don't know. I thought the data was the data, and then you just get new data, but
well, yeah, whatever the newest one is, I feel like they should be using the newest one, not using all of them to explain something away.
Mm-hmm. So now that he was trying to say that the phone remained on, and he can't explain why these messages came in. However, if it remained on, he doesn't explain when it went off. There's like that gap. All he explains that it comes on February 15th of.
Well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Whether it died or somebody shut it off, they should have a time for when that happened.
Yeah, they did. That's what we noticed. Well, there's a big gap missing right there. So we take a break. We come back, and before the cross, Nick comes up and says, I have 4 more questions. I want to draw your attention to the first report, Exhibit 225, page 10 of the report. Clear it for the jury. The 2:07 p.m. 2:13. What's that asterisk mean on your report?
Oh no! What does the asterisk mean? There's too many asterisks. She said she's here. I don't have any control. Teresa has to. I think you have to leave, and then Teresa has to let you back in. What a cliffhanger. I don't know. If I'm an admin role, nothing looks different on this end. When she gets back, remind me to ask her if we're still on direct. Oh, we are still on direct. She just said
Okay.
that. Oh,
Yeah,
yay.
we're still on direct. Okay.
Okay.
But
What's
Nick,
the asterisk mean?
yeah, the asterisk. Basically, that's for the battery. He said. Let me see. Let me go back to that. Clear it up. Can you tell us what those asterisks mean in your report? Refer to the image of. Refers to the image of Abby walking on the bridge on her device. Can you explain to that? Just a second. Can you explain? Gosh darn it! I thought it was talking about the battery. Dang it! No, wait. It just said no. It says, What's your asterisk mean in the report? It refers to the image of Abby walking on the bridge on her device. That's what it is. He said. I don't know why they. Exhibit 226. There's a picture I found of interest from the chat. I'm sorry, just a second. Friend on the internal data. He made a couple mistakes in his report, but I don't think he's talking about that. You're gonna have to see Andrea for that one. Sorry, I can't even read this. It's getting a little. It's kind of dark. Okay. There was a measurement in the elevation of the health app. He was talking about the elevation of the. He clarified. Oh, he clarified what the elevation changes were. He's able to find that equals 2 floors. It's 10 feet or 2 meters. It's 16 steps. And so he was able to determine. This is what Nick asked. So you're able to determine using Cellbrite that that's approximately 20 feet? Yes. So on page 8 of the health Apple data table, you have an entry at 12:01. There's an entry at 12:01. When was the next entry? At 1:31. Is the phone moving? No. After 1:31, it moves again. Yes. And then there's a cross examine. Let me see if oh dang. Oh man, theirs was really good. Jennifer's was good. I don't really have time to finish this cross exam, so I don't want to get into it, but it was good. I mean,
Julie, I know you got to go to work. If you want to just go the highlights, or if you want to just wrap up, like you've already done so much for me and for Sophie coming up here. I mean, I appreciate it. So I don't want to keep you. If you want to just touch on highlights, feel free to. If you want to wrap up, feel free to.
Okay, let me just tell you real quick. Okay, let me see, Jay Auger. Let me see if I can summarize. I gotta get my memory. So she goes, so wait a minute. You are telling me that you took he went on Google and took a picture he found that had the 2:07 time in the date. Where'd you find that? He said Google. So you didn't have that anywhere in your documents or anything? No, I just found it. Because I just went on Google. So
I knew it.
Yeah, she goes. So you found that on the wide web?
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah, and he said she says that the timestamp says 7 hours ago.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Yeah.
These fucking idiots, man. What is happening?
Yeah, she goes, so okay, I'm going to give you the exhibit A. Is that the original pic? Yeah. There's no date or timestamp on the original picture. Correct.
Oh,
so you have no idea who put that picture, who put that timestamp on there, do you? Correct.
So wait. So then I have to wonder how the other girls, the witnesses, got timestamps from their Snapchats. Unless they were going off of when they downloaded it, because that was always strange. As I'm like, Snapchat does not have a timestamp. Where is these? So somebody physically put a timestamp on that picture, 2:07.
Yeah, and they just took it as their own. He got it off of Google. He said, so she goes, so then how precise is this 2:07? He goes, depends. So she goes, okay, 140 Snapchat. Then 141 Snapchat, then 143 Snapchat, then 205 Snapchat. 140, you found a Snapchat cache? Yes. And a cache is basically just a bag of information of this, of like the Snapchat photos. So you also found 141 in the Snapchat cache? Yes. 143? Yes. 205? Yes. But you didn't find one at 207? No. Could someone have posted it from another, using another device? He said, yeah, they could have. So you said that the still image of was Libby to Snapchat. In order to be uploaded, it would be on her phone, correct? He said, correct. So the date you fixed is used as an investigator for over 20 years. It should be reliable, accurate, and include the Knowledge C database. She said, is there a set file in Knowledge C called encrypted, what she called, let me see, she called it encrypted something. He said he wasn't familiar with that. Encrypted cache, cryptid underscore cache, something or other. It's a universal forensic extractor, and it's been around since 2007. And he acted like he wasn't familiar with that. It allows you to get physical extraction. And he said, no, he said, no, well, it could. So, but you didn't use that. No. So this is a logical extraction. Yes. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read. So advanced logistics is what it gives you. So there's something called full file system files in Knowledge C that Apple developed. When they develop their products, there's always something that they could utilize, like this Knowledge C came out. She said, isn't it right that like you weren't aware of the Knowledge C, even though it was out there? It's just that your community wasn't aware of it until 2016. Is that correct? Says yes. I'm trying to give. So there's a power off log, right? He goes, well, there's a shutdown. Would you agree? He goes, well, how long does shutdown log keep data? He said, well, the shutdown log keeps data until you shut the phone off, then it resets. So basically she was saying that, so it was shut down on the 14th. Oh, she goes, okay. So there was data. Now I got to get this right. How long does, okay. The shutdown logs. Okay. So when the phone gets shut off and turned back on, then you lose data every time that happens. Did you guys know that? And you lose data over time?
Well, eventually it rewrites. I mean, it overwrites. It only has so much. It can only do so much, and then as you keep using it, it will overwrite. That's why you're not supposed to touch it.
Kind of like the DVR system at the Delphi PD.
The what?
The DVR system at the Delphi PD.
Oh yeah, kind of like
yeah.
that.
Except this is like an actual thing, and that's not.
So she goes. So this phone was shut down on the 14th, and you didn't get any data before. She goes. Now the jury will never know the data that was lost. We will never know this because nope, that's lost forever. So you don't know what you've lost because you lose it each time. So it talks about iPhone, messages, what they are. iPhone is proprietary to Apple, and then you got the SMS. So the user, we already talked about user iPhone to SMS them Android. Basically 433. There's 15 messages come in. And what they say is this. She says at 4:33 on Libby Durbin's phone, there were 15 SMS messages. He goes, well, approximately 15. She goes, well, you don't know why? He goes, no, I don't know why. She goes, well, if I don't have phone service and then I get it, the messages are time stamped and the time that they are sent. An SMS message has time stamped when it's received. So an iMessage is when it's sent. The SMS messages is when it's received. And she said they were still received at 4:33 a.m. Let me see. So you were letting cache underscore encrypted BD or whatever, and he kept saying he's not familiar with it. This is some kind of process. She goes, do you recall getting a deposition on 9/12? And you were talking about the encrypted cache. It's cache, I guess. Cache. Sorry, cache. You agree that it's a database that contains encrypted information? He as well was in working with on the case, Lieutenant Bunner, and we had the gray key. Sorry, I'm kind of broken up. I literally don't have time to even go through my notes.
I'm telling you, Julie, if you gotta go, honey, it's okay. Like I said, I mean, you've already given her so much info. I want to clarify though, they never say that the battery percent. They never talk about the battery percent of this phone ever.
No, they don't. They don't. Let me just say something. He thought they wanted a second set of eyes to look at this. Okay, the one thing that she brought up that Ajay said. Basically, she goes, the FBI requested in 2017. The FBI requested a second set of eyes on this. They wanted all the data. Even Lieutenant Holman requested you to do so. So in 2017, they asked you to send the phone to Homeland Security. What did you do to follow up? I didn't.
Shit. No, he didn't.
Nope. And listen what she says. This was like a moment. She goes, so did you Richard Allen's phone? Did you do an extraction? Yes. So there was nothing on Richard Allen's phone that would link Richard Allen to Libby German. No. There was nothing on Richard Allen's phone that would link Richard Allen to Abby Williams. No. There was nothing on Richard Allen's phone that would link Richard Allen to the murder of Abby Williams, and the same for Libby German. The answer is no. And then she's like, I rest. And then Nick McClellan came out, and he's saying, data that's potentially lost when the phone's turned off and on is that only note that only happens with that is only no at database. What is extracted matched? I don't know what I'm saying. This is like, hang on. So he just went back about when the phone stops moving. Got it, you guys. I hate to have to make T go over to. But
I'm gonna go. We're gonna watch him anyway. I mean, like I said, that's why I'm like, we'll be okay. I mean, you've already shared so much with us. I got
one. I might as well finish. Okay, I skipped over a little bit over here, but Ajay goes in there and says November 8th, 2022. You said the phone 232 phone steps moving. Yes, okay. On the app, and he goes, I only know what the Apple. So, she's talking about the movement of the phone. He says, well, I only know what the Apple data health tells me. I only know that what it shows. And just because it doesn't, she goes, so just because it doesn't record steps doesn't mean it's not in a car, correct? Correct. So it could be in a car, but it may not be recording steps. And he also said that, okay, maybe a bump will record a step. She goes, but sometimes it can record it as a step, not always. Correct. They talk about the photos. Did you ever print this photo of 213 at 205 on the Monon High Bridge? No, the first report, I don't think so. They were talking, okay, the blank sections, not the star. The blank sections are of the battery thing that we were talking about earlier. Did you see the photo posted at 205? I saw it, but I didn't print it.
Why?
I don't know. How does the phone connect? Did you see if AT&T, if they're, okay, I think this is the jury. Did you see if it was were the AT&T cell towers having a problem at that time? He didn't know. Are you aware of Snapchat shares photos that are not uploaded to the story? I don't. Or saves photos. I think it says saves photos. I don't. And then Ajay piped in and said, well, you would expect a photo that's uploaded to Snapchat be found on the phone or in the Snapchat app or whatever. Yeah. The jury do photos, not upload. If you send to a friend, do they get saved to your phone, or could they be in the cache? I don't know. These are some of the jury. Can an iMessage be sent with no cell tower? I don't even know what his answer was to that. I'm sorry.
I hope
You're
you
like,
wouldn't say no, because it definitely could on Wi-Fi.
yeah. Let me see something here. They were talking about method 1 something. I think that was a juror, because they talked about this method 1 yesterday. Could Snapchat videos be I can't read it, sorry. Let me see if I can get anything that's of any worth before I like bore you guys to death and then I get on my way. Let me see something. I'm gonna see Snapchat photos. You guys just talk amongst yourself while I'm trying to figure out if there's anything worth here.
I just can't believe that they took using the evidence photos from the bridge of what was found on social media versus anything that was actually found from the phone.
That's disgusting, really.
And they specified that's just the Abby one that they used, or
yeah, yes, because they found the other one. They found the other ones. They couldn't find that one.
They couldn't find the Abby one, so they just used it from people, or like Kyle Smith and Erica posting it on social media. And then the fact that we don't know about this battery life, like when did it die? How do we not have any more information about when the phone died? And then they turned it back on at 3 something in the afternoon on the 14th or the 15th.
It was 15th. 15th.
The following day after they were found.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's wait. I have it up right now. Let me see what time he turned it back on. Where was that? Can't be that far. Did I just go by that? I can't find it.
You're okay.
Sorry guys, but I do want to make it. I'm pretty much done. The one thing though that so the jury had asked a few questions. They wanted to know how could you connect? How would you or were you going to connect Richard Allen's phone to Libby German and Abby Williams? He said, I didn't find any direct connection or that Mr. Allen even knows them. You did a search. You did find a search history. Maybe this is what they were saying. He found a search history that he looked up the Delphi murders. And that, yes. And then Auger came in and said, but you don't know who performed that search. She said, correct. So
on Libby's phone?
No. A search on Richard Allen's phone. Now I missed the thing. They took like 26 phones, you guys. 26
okay.
Shouldn't say phones. 26 devices. I skipped over that. They took 26.
Okay, so when was this search done and what was the search on Richard Allen's phone?
It was when they they went and got all the phones and
yeah, but when was the search performed though? And what search was on Richard Allen's phone?
Let me see if
who's going to talk about who's going to testify to like all the data on Richard Allen's devices, or is there just none? So we're just going to move on.
There was nothing on there. You know what?
There's a search about them missing. There's a search about what? That's what I'm trying to figure out from Richard Allen's phone.
I don't. When Nick was asking that, and then Auger came in there wasn't. They didn't give a. I don't think. Just a minute. Just let me just wait a second here. I gotta get to this. How many devices did you analyze from Richard Allen's house? 23. Do you know what each device? Do you know kind of when each device came out, like when it was the new thing? Yeah, because it's in the market. And were you made privy to MEID, which is the mobile equipment identification thing, and the IMEI? He said each one has unique identifier phone. Did you analyze the phone from 2017? See, I had yes, but Andrea didn't think they did. Was it found at his home? I don't think it was found at his house. We got a clarification because I thought I wrote yes, but she said she didn't think it was. They found the 2017. Let me see something.
Okay, that's interesting. We need to find out if they actually searched the phone that Richard Allen had in 2017.
Well, they had 23 devices, and I had yes. Was it found in his house?
Well, they had from the original tip narrative the MEID,
right,
for the phone because he gave it to them in 2017, so they would know for sure if they had that device.
Right.
That was the one I thought.
Oh, I wonder in the search warrant return if they listed the MEID on the. No, maybe they didn't.
Yeah, because they did. I don't have that, but he said it was unique to that. Did you analyze the phone in 2017? Why did I have a yes? But Andrea said no. They didn't find the the phone.
But you're saying, did you analyze the phone in 2017?
It says phone. It said the phone from.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they would be talking about his phone from 20. I swear I read somewhere that he had the same phone.
Yeah,
we need
like that. That was
clarification on
the
that.
same phone for like year, like till they literally can't anymore. But then everybody else usually gets upgrades all the time. Like I wouldn't expect him in, well, I don't know, 7 some odd years. So I guess I would expect him to get a new one. That's a long time.
yeah. I mean, he had a lot, and I think devices are like SIM cards. They're probably laptops. Some computers or whatever. We don't know exactly.
Okay, but there was so on one of Richard Allen's devices, there was a search done about the girls, about the crime, about what was that?
Oh yeah, it was just about the Delphi murders, about the crime, like like if you looked it up, if we were looking up,
right,
the Delphi murders.
Do we know when
there
that search was conducted? When did Richard Allen or whomever used that phone complete that search?
I don't think they said. That's the thing is I don't think they didn't give any times on that. If they did, I don't have it written down, but I didn't think that
That would be important. Like, is he searching the crimes like at the 2019 press conference? Is he searching them within a couple days of the crime? Is he just randomly searching them throughout?
No, it just said a search. They found a search. That was the only thing that they found on it was a search.
Okay.
So I mean, she may have more details because there were certain things that and I was I'm so tired right now. I'm still got to drive home an hour and 15 and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, Andrea, she'll fill in the loose ends or mistakes that I made. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not a reporter.
No. You don't apologize for anything.
Oh, you're doing way better than the reporters.
No. Sorry, and it's hard if you don't have time to review your notes and kind of organize it. And I just randomly, literally got a Diet Coke and a little bit of popcorn and hopped in the car and got on. So I'm going to get off here for now, you guys. So I will talk to you later. I appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody.
We appreciate you.
All right, thanks, hon. All right, see you guys. Bye.
All right, love you. We'll talk to you later. Go drive safely. Oh, she's already gone. Okay. That's a lot to absorb. So we have, oh my gosh, I don't even, that's just a lot to absorb. I'm definitely curious about more of this phone data in situation because what device was a search found? When was a search conducted? When did they find out about a search? I mean, there's just so many possibilities to that. I don't like what was the actual search? Like what were the words used in the search?
In general, minus like the 13th at like, I don't know, 6 o'clock. Any search for the crime wouldn't be weird to me, really. But like if the 13th at 6 o'clock he was Googling, the Delphi murders, then yeah, that would be really suspicious.
And that's why I'm like, yeah, I think that's important. So hopefully somebody asked that question. So Sleuthie, I want to thank you. I mean, you're just always so helpful to anything I ever need. And so I thank you for coming up so that she could finish and I could drive to gymnastics. So I appreciate that. I just want to say thank you.
Of course.
I did do whatever Miku said to do about adding you to the StreamYard thing. So you should have something in your email. I have no idea how that works or what it does. So that's all experimental. We'll figure it out, I guess, as we go. I don't know what it allows anybody to do.
I don't know either. I wouldn't accepted it.
All right. So I guess so can you like click on a comment on StreamYard? Can you make the comment like on the screen?
Is it doing it?
No.
Well, maybe not, because I was already logged in, maybe.
Okay. And there's two things. There's like an admin and a co-host, and I don't know which one I'm supposed to give to make it so you can do stuff. So if it's the wrong one, I'll go back and just switch it to the other one. So I don't really know.
Just said, welcome to the team.
Yeah, welcome to the team.
Thanks.
That's it. I only have room for 2 of us, so you get it. But I thank you, and I know Andrea is live. Bob is live. Andrea has not fixed it where I can reroute to her. So I have set the channel up to reroute to Bob's live. Both being in court today. Ultimately, in the end, I'll listen to both of them. So this live is going to portal everybody over to Bob's live, and then we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow for day number 6. Julie will not be in court tomorrow, so we won't have her inside information. She works a 24-hour shift, so she won't be back tomorrow. And I think she has like 4 24-hour shifts to work next week.
Oh my God. I don't know how many more days I can. Today's day 6.
Today's day 5, honey.
Oh my God. I've been doing this for weeks.
I know. I just because we can't see any of it's just so it's so overwhelming with information. I was like, God.
I knew that they were doing that. I knew that they were going. I thought, what are the odds that Snapchat was exactly at 2:07? So who messed with the timestamp? That person is suspicious.
How do we even know that? Where does 2:07 come from? Because it's 7. It says 7 hours. It doesn't even tell you a time.
That's what I'm saying. Who felt the need to edit that and put a timestamp on it? Like, that person should be a suspect. And then spread it out to the world, because they're the ones that started this timeline. They're using that as proof of life. I don't like it. Where's Eye of Apophis?
Where's I at? I know I has got to be just losing his ever-loving fucking mind with all of this stuff. I haven't even been able to go watch if there's any content being put out by I right now, because I'm just like they're always so deep anyway. But I'm like, my mind is gonna combust.
Yeah.
So she's not a doctor. She's what do you call it? Like
a CNA.
No, the back where you put the epidurals in. The person who does that.
Shut up. Something. She's like a nurse anesthetist.
Anesthetist. Yeah.
Oh
whatever
my gosh. Let me just tell you. I don't know who. Oh, I guess it was my ex-husband. The other day was complaining about his back. I told you he's like in shambles at 35 years old. And I was like, you should go get an injection if it's that bad. Like, and he's like, no, I'm not getting an injection in my spine. And I was like, I did. They did it twice. Like when I had my kid, she did it the first time. You got 2
epidurals?
Huh?
You got 2 epidurals for one kid?
Well, she did it, and then she was like, I can like tape this up and give you the medicine, but I feel like I could place it better. It'll work, but I feel like I could place it better. But it's up to you if you want me to try again. And I was like, just do it again. Like if you think you could do it better, do it better. And so I did let her. And I never even felt. Well, I had back labor, so like I was in so much. I had no idea she was even doing anything. I never even felt anything because I was in so much pain.
Nice. So you didn't care that she did it twice.
No, and then I was like, how
I had an epidural for all 3 of mine, and my epidural on my 3rd one did not take.
Oh, I know. I heard all the horror stories. Like,
I can't even
going numb.
The difference. My husband will tell you to this day how embarrassing it was to be in the room with me when I delivered our tiny human.
I literally,
because the first 2 were like, yeah, let's get this done, and then the 3rd one, I was like, I'm dying.
I was like, because like the person that did it come in the middle of a snowstorm, and they wouldn't give me any drugs. because they were like, had to wait for my blood to come back, whatever. And so she did that. And I was like, how soon before this kicks in? Because I can't take this. Like, I had been having contractions for weeks and they were in my belly and it was fine. Had it been in my belly, I could have handled it. But nobody told me back labor was a thing. So I felt like I was literally, my back was being run over by a truck. So she's like, well, every contraction that you have from now on should get less painful. And then, like, I don't know, 30 seconds later, she was like, how is that? Is that better? And I was like, is what better? And she's like, you're having, you're having a really strong contraction. I said, I had no idea. I couldn't
like,
feel
I'm good
anything.
now.
Yep, I couldn't feel anything. So I went to sleep. But I think she like paralyzed me. And then I had to have emergency C-section, so it didn't matter. But I'll tell you what, because they had me push for like 16 hours before.
Oh, fuck no.
Yeah. And like, while it wasn't painful, dude, it was exhausting. Oh, God, it was
I
exhausting.
would not have done that. No way. I would have, even just after the few hours with my third one, I was like, just cut him out. Just cut him out. And I was like, if you're not going to cut him out, then he's going to die with me. So bad. It was so bad. I can't even tell you.
I had him at a Catholic hospital. So like, they don't do that unless they don't do C-sections unless somebody's going to die.
Do it. Yeah, no, they told me no. That's when I was like, he's going to die then.
Yeah.
And they're
Then
like,
my temperature.
breathe. And I'm like, I am breathing.
Yeah. After 16 hours, they were like, I'll never forget him just standing there saying, well, the baby's heart rate's getting really high. And like, your temperature's getting really high. And my ex-husband never did anything, but he did say, well, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to do something? And then
He's going to keep telling us about it.
Yep. But I'll tell you what, I was sick from the minute that she gave me that medicine and that epidural. I mean, violently ill for all those hours.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it worked. She put it, she must have like quadrupled the dose or something, but sorry, we got so off track.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. Yeah, our Delphi brain just starts to go like kaput. And we're just like, well, let's talk about anything else. All right, well, I'm going to wrap
up. Rulings today. Did you see them?
Oh, we can talk about that. Yeah, before we leave. So,
yes, they're important. They're insane.
Here, let me see if I can pull them up real quick. I won't read through them because I know other people want to like hear the stuff from in court. But so yeah, the orders today. We've got Andrea Burkhart's where she did actually respond, which I was super surprised about.
Me too.
I was surprised. I did not think she would until the end of trial. But she denied it. Do I have that one? Wait, yeah. No, this is the wrong one.
I thought she was just going to ignore it so that, like, even Andrea was like, I think she knows that once she denies it, that's what I need her to do to go for OA. And she's not going to do it. And then today she did it. And I was like, is she dumb? Like, surely. And then she cited a rule that's like not even real. She scares me.
And so, yeah, she said that Andrea Burkhart is not a party to these proceedings. The court is not required to provide the recording. So that once again, that we're not going to get the recordings until we have attorneys like Andrea Burkhart are going to go fight for us, the public, who it is public record, to be able to actually hear what's going on inside of this fucking courtroom.
Andrea is a party. She's the party requesting.
Right, but they're saying that they're only going to give the audio recordings to the parties, as in the prosecution and the defense.
Right, but she used that trial rule to say that, but that's not what the rule says.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's not very common for her to put down the right ones anyway.
Well, I mean, it's the right one. It's just she's interpreting it incorrectly. And this is a couple times now she's done this. And I can't tell if she just doesn't know, which is very scary, or if she's purposely like misunderstanding, I
don't think I downloaded the Tobin one. So she also ruled today that the motion in limine that Nick had filed to stop Tobin from being able to testify, who's the metallurgist, that she approved Nick's motion in limine, and Tobin will not be testifying unless there's some open door. Like, we've gone over what motions in limine actually are, but unless there's some open door, she said Tobin is a no-go. Let's see what else there was. Oh, go ahead.
She said specifically, and I just did this. So she said that he is an expert, but he's not a firearms expert and has no training in firearms identification and has never conducted a firearms examination. Remember, we're talking about tool mark evidence,
Right.
not firearms. Specifically, he didn't examine the evidence in this case. He did. The topic of this witness's testimony does not go to an issue before the jury and lacks relevance. So she said it was inadmissible.
I don't know how it's
Like
inadmissible.
what? Yep.
You know, yeah. So no Tobin as of right now, and then she also puts out the order that from the first day. If you guys remember, we talked about the cameraman from NBC and the Associated Press that got their cameras taken. She puts out that they did actually check their footage, and it did contain images of the jurors. I don't know if I fucking believe anything.
I do not.
I'm just like, it is what it is. So she name drops all of them and puts that out. And then we also had a new motion filed by the defense today, a motion to admit the evidence of Odinism, Norse paganism, and ritualistic killing. I hate to say this, but this is literally just going to be for the appellate record, in my opinion. If he's convicted, I do not. She's not gonna. She just does not give a shit. She does not think that anybody opened the door. But so in their motion, they just say that CSI Brian O'Leahy testified concerning various aspects of the crime scene. During his testimony, he indicated that the sticks covering the girls was an attempt by the killer to conceal the girls' bodies. On September 18, 2023, the defense filed its first franks. On August 1st, the defense provided the testimony of Dr. Dawn Perlmutter. She provided her CV and testimony at said hearing. So they just essentially want to be able to bring in the fact that these sticks they believe these sticks to be ritualistic and have nothing to do with Richard Allen. This does not go to third-party perpetrators, but does go to third-party theory of the crime, if that makes sense. Like, they're not naming the people. They want to just be able to say, like, ask the questions, did anybody at the time think that these sticks represented Norse paganism or Odinism, which I don't know how that's being kept out when that was a big part of their investigation that never got finished. But I just don't think that she's going to approve fucking anything for them, like, ever. I'd probably fall out of my chair. I legit probably would fall out of my chair if she does. So
yeah, so their argument is that he has a Sixth Amendment right to present a defense, to present an alternate theory or explanation for the evidence. And that is an alternate explanation for those sticks. And so
he absolutely does.
Yeah, so by her denying that, she's only allowing the jury to hear the state's theory and not his.
The other thing that I expected we would get today, but we did not, was the motion to admit the sketches. But we did not get that today. I don't even know. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they feel really good if. Maybe they feel really good with the fact that these eyewitness accounts talk about all these different people. One of them testified to that she was shown, or two of them at least testified she was shown pictures of the person on the bridge before necessarily completing her sketches. Maybe they just feel good about that and they're not going to do it, or maybe it's just not in yet.
I mean, I think that all the witnesses' descriptions clearly are not Richard Allen. So I don't even know that it's necessary.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're going to see a motion to admit that. But right now, they are requesting for at least the Norse paganism and Odinism to be brought in. I don't know. I just don't. Legally, I'm very curious what legal basis she will state for denying this, besides just I deny it. She'll probably be like, I'm gonna wait for the prosecution to respond, and then I'll deny it for you and just say, quoting whatever they say they want it for the reason, like she normally does.
If she's not letting Tobin, I can't imagine her letting this.
No. So, okay. Any other final thoughts, wrap ups from day number 5?
Nope. I'm gonna start writing up the stuff from yesterday.
Okay. I'm still working. I have the consolidated, more colorful graphic that I've been doing. So I'm working on that. And then I'm going to add all the other testimony that we have. I'll keep adding to it. I'll share this link one more time. for anybody who wants to look at it, it is a work in progress. It will be updated as soon as it can be, but it's public for you guys to be able to look at it and see. You know, this is the best we can do at this point without having it televised, without having, you know, one of us being in the courtroom. So this is a compilation from a lot of you guys that have been helping get, compile the notes of Andrea Burkhart, Bob Mata, and Ali Mata from Defense Diaries, Lawyer Lee, and Tom Webster. Those are probably the main sources of information. I would say probably in that order: Andrea Burkhart, Bob and Ali, Lawyer Lee, and then Tom Webster. That's probably the order of where the sources is coming from. So the majority is from Andrea's note taking. And then if there's something that I feel like where she either states she may have missed it or didn't hear it, but somebody else did, I've tried to add that in. But it's not going to be 100% because we don't have it. We just don't have 100%. It's the best I can deliver at this time. So I'm just.
And if you don't like it, you can go sit your ass in a chair outside of the courthouse and hope that you
write
get
Joel a fucking letter and tell her how stupid it is that we don't have access to this. So I'll update it every time that we get more notes and more testimony. Sleuthie's, like I said, she's been doing a badass job of getting, putting it all together by witness. So it makes it really easy for me just to stick it in here and then just format it. So that's what I'm doing. But it will be updated. It'll stay the same link. So you guys can, if you save the link or you put it somewhere safe, it'll just get updated as I update it. So it'll always be the same link. And I'll also put it in the Delphi chat. I'll put it in the Facebook group, and I'll put it on my community wall on YouTube. So where if you'll have it in any one of those capacities.
Thanks, Teresa.
No, thank you, Sleuthie. And to all the other ones, and I don't know if you guys want your names out there, but the other ones that are going through and taking notes from the other lives as well, because Sleuthie might be fast, but she still has other shit she has to do.
I'm literally stuffing my car full of stuff for the Halloween party at school tomorrow. So,
well, you have fun with that. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, Sleuthie will be able to join us. Like I said, Julie won't be in court, so it's going to be a recap of what we hear from mainstream media or people in the courtroom via Twitter and whatnot. So we'll be back to doing that again tomorrow. And like I said, this live is going to be rerouted to Bob's. So if you're wanting to go to Andrea's, I think Sleuthie put Andrea's link, or not Sleuthie, Sleuth Investigates put Andrea's link in the chat. If you want to go to Bob's, you're going to be portaled right over there as soon as this ends. And thank you, Sleuthie. Thank you, Julie. I know you're not listening anymore. Thank you guys in chat. I love you guys. I know that you guys have tons of other places that you can be, and you choose to still stay here and hang out with me. And it humbles me, and I thank you very much for doing it. And on that note, we see you mañana.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown. Down the rabbit hole. Where it stops, no one knows. We're going down. We're going head into the unknown.